Do modern women believe that the fat meat is greasy in dating and relationships? Shaka Khan made a song back in the past called Do the Fire to the Limit to the Wall. And the wall actually is a nexus point for when many women actually lose their beauty and the accoutrements that help them become sustainable in the past. Listen to this. Marriage rates appear to be faltering. And there was a time that women actually used their beauty and the teachings from their grandparents and their mothers to get the man that they want. But Kevin Samuels talked about a term called dying alone. And we're going to more or less explore and more or less extrapolate the term dying alone from the different psychosocial stages of development by Erickson. And we're going to explore how many women potentially have more or less sabotaged their future as it relates to dating and marriage because they believe the lie that their careers sometimes are more important than family. Listen, while we're not necessarily against getting careers, if family and relationships are vital to your sustainability, then unfortunately, some women have more or less aborted that. We're going to talk about a myriad of issues. We're going to talk about the wall. We're going to talk about dating. And also, we're going to talk about dying alone, as those are three precursors that more or less beset many women as they get closer to the grave. I want you to explore in this powerful hour where we explore the dynamics associated with women and men also as it relates to relationship. As I'm your host, the coach and clinician, and in this hour of empowerment, we're going to be exploring all those dynamics that more or less impede the efficacy of a woman. Remember this is the hour of empowerment. And I'm not Reverend Nike, I'm the coach and clinician.
In the morning, you got me up all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, let's kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
So you just make the deal? Attraction's nothing?
Okay, see, again, I'll try one more time, and I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Well, let's just take it your way. Yes. Attraction. You're supposed to be the attractive one.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, I don't care about your attraction. I don't care about love either. Why do you women think you get it all?
Securities, and they don't like me being around certain VIP scenes or going to certain events and venues and want to sit me down and, you know, have me barefoot and pregnant, whatever you want to call it. But
no.
That's not my career. It's not what I'm about to do.
Okay, hold on. Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
29. What state are you in?
Texas.
Okay. I hope you're not in Dallas.
I'm in Houston.
Finesse capital of Texas.
Finesse capital.
So what I'm about to say is considered controversial in this day and age, but I want to preface this by saying I am all for female equality. I was the only girl on my football team growing up. I am a rapper in a male-dominated industry. I have a career in a male-dominated industry. I run my household, pay all my bills by myself, have my own vehicles, and manage everything on my own. But I also know that God did not design my life to be this way. I was not meant to manage everything on my own. I was not meant to be the nurturer and the disciplinarian of my children. I was not meant to be the provider and also the homemaker. And I'm aware of that. And it's my own decisions that have brought me here. And it's my own acceptance of the lies that I was taught in this society. Teaching men that they are not, in fact, the spirit heads of their households, that they are not the leaders of their households. We are shaming them for standing up in their masculinity and making decisions that would change and lead their families. And that's wrong. You know what I want more than anything in life? Is to have a man that spiritually leads me and my household. Why? Because I'm in that position, because I have to. And I realized that I was designed to do other things, that I was designed and powerful in other ways. And I'm tired of managing it all on my own. I'm tired of being with men that I have to raise up spiritually because this society told them that wasn't their place. And because this society discouraged them from being masculine. And now I'm in a position where I have to take on a male and female role and act as if somehow I should be managing both. Am I capable? Certainly. But should I really be? No, I don't want to. We need to start encouraging men to stand firm in their spiritual positions so we can stand firm in ours. And I feel like if that happened, we would see way less broken families. We would see a stronger spiritual society, and we would be seeing a lot of healing. I pray that that happens in my life, and if not, so be it. And I'll stand in this position knowing I wasn't designed to be in both positions. But I hope that this encourages the men out there to stand firm in who you are and what you were designed to be. You were designed specifically for a specific role and position.
Were you cheating on him with your baby daddy?
Yeah.
Holy crap. All right. Who ended up filing for divorce?
Me.
Where's your child's father?
He takes care of our child.
I just said, where is he?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Are you guys still together?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because he just wanted to screw up your situation.
Yep. That's exactly what he wanted.
And yeah, and you were dumb enough to let him do it.
Precisely. Yep.
That's why, ma'am, I wasn't saying what I was saying to be mean. You found a guy who was willing to accept you as a baby mama and took care of you, another man's child. And the respect you paid him was to continue to sleep or to have with your baby daddy.
Everything in the back. But I'm gonna say this. I shouldn't have to explain this. The guy's approach wasn't the best. So I'm not gonna sit here and fully agree with him. But remember, I cannot make a 20-minute video. It is TikTok. I only get 3 minutes, 60 seconds on that video. But I'm gonna say this. I don't know how many times I gotta say it. I am a traditional woman. I was raised by grandparents, so I'm very old school. I watched my grandpa take care of my grandma, pay all the bills. And what did she do? Cook, clean, and then she paid maybe some light bills here and there, but she didn't have to pay anything. It was her choice to do that. Does that make sense? But I watched my grandma naturally. Oh, I'm going to go buy my grandpa this chain. She bought my grandpa so many things, chains, rings. Like she went out of her way to go above and beyond. And I was raised, I watched her do these kinds of things, cater to him, make food for him. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to say this. Naturally, if you don't want to do things for your man and he's literally paying for everything, doing everything for you, I just feel like you're a user. I'm sorry, you are. What else is there? You don't even appreciate the things he's doing for you. And think about this. If he's paying for everything and doing everything you ask, and he asks you for one thing and you can't do it, what does that make you? What kind of partner are you? Are you even partners? Do you have his back like you say you do? That's what the video was about. He will do anything for her, but she doesn't love him with conditions. That's the point of that. That's how a lot of women are. You want a man to provide, pay for everything, and then when he wants some pussy every now and then, it's a no. Now, no one's forcing you to have sex with a guy every day. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's a chore and it's so hard for you, baby, what are you doing? What are you doing? I just feel like that's really fucked up. You know what I mean? This is the area where we care about men's feelings. This is the area where we want to cater to our man. You see that? That's why we don't see eye to eye, but that's okay. You don't give a fuck about men. I do. So we're not going to have the same values and the same mindset. So again, over your head. And the last thing I'm going to add, I'm not saying a guy should tell you what to do, disrespect you, have you on your knees, being rude. I never fucking said that. I would never want men to treat you women like shit. I want you guys to be treated like queens. I know I don't say it. I know I don't have this woman empowerment thing on my fucking back, but I'm being honest with you. I don't want that for y'all. I want y'all to be happy and in flourishing relationships. But you guys look at my content and take it as me attacking you. I'm a woman and I see a lot of problems in a lot of things women do, so I can speak on women topics. I can't speak for men. Does that make sense? But I do defend men. There's a difference. So again, I don't understand how many times I gotta explain this to women. I am not sitting here saying a man should treat you like shit. A man should talk to you any type of way. But I'm sorry, if he's calling all the shots, making all the money moves, doing all that, he's the leader. He's the head honcho. That doesn't make any sense. What are you? You're not doing anything. You're not paying for anything. And you expect to call the shots? Where does that work? So you mean the president is the one that's up here? And you know what? Just whatever. Think whatever you want. It makes me laugh how like silly you guys can't comprehend things. And I can explain it a million times. It's never going to comprehend to somebody who doesn't view things the same way I do.
He's just speaking facts.
Talking about no saggy skin, no cellulite, no stretch marks, titties need to be all the way up here. Okay.
Wait, that sounds familiar. Has to be 6 foot. Have to have a 10-inch glizzy. Bank account better have at least 6 digits. Better have a 6-pack. Better be able to take care of me. Are you mad that we have requirements? Or are you mad that you don't meet them? Or better yet, is it really those requirements you listed? Or are your 15 personalities not worth dealing with, especially if it's not worth its weight in quality genetics? Maybe instead of only blaming the men, you should start asking yourself, what am I doing wrong? What about me makes it so hard for men to want to put up with me? But you don't seem to be ready for that conversation. Stay woke.
All right. Let me remove this. And we have the distinguished guests. We have My Vivid Life with my dear friend Kelly. We have my man Mark Monplaisir. I think I got it right, from Haiti via New York. And also we have Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Now here's the dichotomy with this particular show. We're going to be exploring 3 different variables on tonight. We're going to be exploring a variable called the wall, modern dating and relationships, and dying alone. And we're going to explore how those more or less phenomena more or less play a role in how women are thinking. And we're going to also ask the question, have many women missed their mark? Did they have an opportunity at one point to get married, but because they didn't believe that the fat meat was greasy, they might be singing that song by Patti LaBelle, I'm on my own. So Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Guys, unmute yourself. We're going to have a powerful discussion on tonight, because is the wall real? And if it is real, what should women do to get the things they want from relationships? So Blind Guy, his wife, their life. I want you to tell the audience who you are, and more or less talk about the nuances of marriage and how marriage can be a benefit, but also marriage's work.
Okay, sure. Hello, the kosher clinician. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, ma'am. I'm doing great.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and just let me know if everything sounds good to you, because I am using a new mic.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
All right, wonderful. So I am a wife. I am a mother. I am a hard worker, as far as a follower of my husband. For example, I'm a nurse. However, all of this time, over the 25 years plus that I've been a nurse, I have followed whatever my husband wanted to do. So, you know, that's kind of been where I am with that. And in that essence, you know, from that perspective, marriages work because regardless of what's happening, you find yourself questioning things and saying, look, do I want to keep going this way? I have my own ideas. There's so much more I could be doing. That's the initial thought. That's what you always think. You always say to yourself, I got this, you know, and then you also realize that, but, you know, this is convenient, these aspects of marriage. And so you know, and then you also, if you have a certain set of values that you want to stick with, I have a certain set of values that I grew up with, and I respect, and I want to, you know, continue to stay with. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm in this for the long haul. So that's where I am. But marriage is definitely work. It's no walk in the park. It's constant communication. It's constant. What do you call it when you give somebody else a chance and you just want to think about yourself?
Right.
You
And
know, it's all of that. That's all I could say.
right. And, you know, it appears to me that sometimes that some of our women have a mental health condition called magical thinking. And magical thinking is the belief that one's ideas, thoughts, and actions or words more or less can influence the outcomes of the world. You know, I've heard Kevin Samuels say this, and he makes some very poignant points that some women believe that, you know, dating and marriage is like picking an apple from a tree and that men are going to always be there.
Yeah.
But there appears to be a growing trend where men are actually divesting from relationships. And the sentiment is that many women had the opportunity to get the man of their dreams in high school, but they chose not to for whatever reason. Some call it hypergamy. Mark Monplaisir, I want you to tell the audience who you are, and we're going to talk about your book and how it relates to some of the choices that modern women are making as it relates to relationships, and how trauma plays a role in that discussion.
Hi, well, thank you for having me. My name is Mark Monplaisir. I am the author of this book, Strong Women, Fed Up Men, Defeated Sons, Broken Daughters. I'm also a mental health coach. I'm an organizational psychologist, and yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I'm a father to a beautiful 5-year-old little girl, and I'm a life learner, and I'm also a teacher. So yeah, thank you for having me.
No doubt. Blessings, brother. Blessings. And shout out to Leo Nation. Get your L's up. Get your L up. You got to get your L up, Mark.
There it
is. All right. And also we have the talented and the feminine, but also moody Cancer, My Vivid Life. My Vivid Life. Tell the audience who you are. And I want you to tell them how this topic more or less relates to you. I was really impressed by your YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check her channel out called My Vivid Life with Kelly. And I want you to talk about how this topic relates to you and dating and modern relationships and the imminent threat of the wall.
Well, when you put it that way, thank you for having me, first of all. My name is Kelly, and yeah, I was married. I was married to my high school sweetheart. We were married for 15 years, and we got a divorce. I have 3 daughters from that relationship, and I was dating on dating apps and decided that was not for me. Lots of stories in between that, but as the title, I'd like to say the title does not relate to me, like hitting the wall. It just seems so negative, but maybe that's the effect that it's trying to, portray. And then the dying alone, certainly. I want to have a partner, and I feel that, especially with women who go through divorces, they want to do things better than they did the first time around. And so I'm really just trying to be my better self so that I am quality for whomever comes my way, but certainly do not want to die alone. And hitting the wall, I'm not really sure 100% what that means. So maybe we could talk about that before I describe myself in that manner.
Well, well, I'm gonna bring some sunshine, because I am a Leo. I'm gonna bring some sunshine. I don't want you to get too moody. So the wall is a symbolism that more or less asserts that a woman's peak beauty is in her youth. It doesn't mean that a woman can't get a relationship in her 40s. It doesn't mean that, but it means that as a woman gets older, those things that made her beautiful to many men, it's a gradual decline. For some, it's a horrible decline. And you look like you're preserving yourself very well. But the wall is a symbolism that, the beauty that you once had is actually dissipating. And so for many women, that becomes a schema affliction. And that schema affliction is a thought pattern that's related to pain that Father Time actually is catching up. And so I know you said that it's negative, but it's not meant to be negative. It's actually meant to be a reality because, unfortunately, Kelly, many of our women think that their time, and when it comes down to dating and relationship, is unlimited. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they come to that peril as they get older that, wow, it's not as easy as I thought it was. And listen, I want you to explore some of the challenges that you more or less experienced when you actually were out there dating. And I want you to share with the audience what you want to share with the audience, about some of the things that you could have done better in your prior relationships.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think there are a lot of women who are my age who might be a little bit delusional about who they can get now. We are older, we're gray, we've got, lines and things like that. And we see the attractive gentleman and what used to probably work, we have to work a little bit harder. I am very well aware of where I am. And so I, even when I did go onto the dating apps, I was very realistic about expectations. And so I tried to approach those encounters, communicating with men online. And mind you, I had never done that before because I married my high school sweetheart. So I never really had that time to date and do all of that as a young person. We got together very young. So I use that opportunity now as, a divorced person to kind of explore and see what it's like out there. And it's wild. And, you don't get real people, I think I'm real, but, that's that initial, when you're first meeting someone, the representative is there. Right. And it's a lot of time spent working through that, and it's exhausting. And I can see how women and men too kind of get exhausted trying to get to that core of a person. And the other side of that is that you don't want to be vulnerable to that person just yet because you just met them. So it's a weird place. It's a weird place to be, but you got to do it, I guess. But for me, I'm not on the apps anymore because I feel like I can meet people in person.
Right. Respect. This is going to be a powerful show. Now, listen, guys, I need you to help me out. This channel is growing, and I need you to help it to continue to grow. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button. Once you share it, please hit 1 inside the chat. I want women to hear this because many don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. And the fat meat is greasy, once again, it's a thinking error. And Blind Guy, his wife, there, she know what I'm talking about. She's from the South, I think. And that's a sign that you don't believe that the things that are about to happen are going to happen because more or less you have believed more or less that your time was infinite. Mark, I want you to talk about how trauma has played a role in modern dating and relationships. And I want you to tell the audience about your book and the importance of that book.
Absolutely. So the book is about healing generational pain, starting from slavery, understanding the history, understanding what the impact it had on our ancestors and how they've taught us how to have relationships, how to interact with one another. And that's those detrimental teachings have been passed down from generations to generations. And we're still practicing a lot of them in the ways that we interact with one another, in the ways that we raise our children, in the ways that we have relationships. So, so I pretty much talk about the history of that stage, and then, build up from that, talking about how, men and women are, and how they raise their children, and how we can understand, learn to understand those histories, and then start, living a purposeful life, and forgiveness, and self-healing, self-care, and all of that. And that way we'll be able to, when we decide to go into relationships or raise children, we'll be able to do it from a healthier space, healthier place, because we will be healthier. And as far as how that has impacted relationships, again, when you're not healthy emotionally, right, you're not in a good space, it's hard to have a healthy relationship if both partners are not healthy, right? So it that, again, the way you were raised by your parents, let's say you experienced some traumas, when you go into relationships, you go with those traumas, right? And once you get into that relationship, oftentimes we forget that we have experienced those things, and we focus on the relationship itself. But usually the relationship is not the problem, it's the fact that we both bring in issues from our past, and then try to fix the relationship, which is not really the issue, right? But we forget the fact that, individually we both bring stuff into the relationship. So I believe that, if we learn to understand ourselves, if we learn to understand, our past, whoever raised us, the culture, the traditions they taught us, we'll definitely be able to have healthier relationships, and be able to raise our families and children in a healthier state.
Right. Donald Smith said, he wanted to know the name of your book. He didn't want to miss it. So please tell him about the name of your book, so he can more or less potentially purchase that book. And shout out to Dr. Ron Neal. Dr. Ron Neal was with me when we went to the beautiful shores of Brazil, and also my man Chris for actually printing the shirt, The Fat Meat is Greasy. Guys, if you want your shirt, The Fat Meat is Greasy, go by, please check in my inbox at Kosher Clinician, and Chris and I will take care of you, because the fat meat is greasy is symbolic of thinking errors that unfortunately some of our women have, and some of our men, and they believe that men are going to be around infinite as it relates to dating. Todd Maynard Cutner, we got a Leo in the house. I want you to tell another Leo, man, we got a trifecta tonight. Get your L's up, man. You got to get them up, dog. Get them up. You got to get them up. Get that L up, Ty. Get it up for the people, man. No doubt. Ty, tell the people who you are and what you bring to the discussion as it relates to dating and relationships.
Yes. So thank you for having me. I'm an image coach and also a relationship coach. So now the reason why I wasn't here on time is because I spend my time talking to guys all day about getting out of toxic relationships. So either divorce, marriage, separating. They see a Facebook ad, they call me up, or one of my other guys on the team, and we help them get out of relationship issues, right? So, and usually what happens is, 100% of the time, a guy who calls me in and gets into a relationship issue is the guy has lost sight of who he is, right? He lost sight in where he's going in life, and he starts to bend, and he allows the woman to pull him based on the emotional strings, and he starts to try to help her, fix her, be with her, do what she wants. And that's not what she wants. And the relationship goes downhill. Not only that, but they open themselves up to women who have personality disorders. If a man is not able to keep his boundaries because he's trying to make her happy all the time, he can't see the personality disorders that she may have, or behavioral disorders that she has, that's making her have these outrageous desires and wants and needs that he can't possibly fulfill. A lot of men get into relationships that were doomed before they even got with the person, because a lot of times when men are going through stuff, they seek women for that comforting, right? And since 100% of the women have the things that comfort men, which is vagina, right? And since 100% of women have that, men end up getting into relationships, but they don't know what's in front of them. They just know they want to feel good. They just know that they want to be cared for, but they don't know what's between that woman's ears and how her situations about her. And now they fall in love with that good feeling, and then she becomes herself. She starts being who she actually is. Once you start love bombing him, and now he's like, what happened? What was going on? A lot of times I got to tell guys, listen, brother, she was like this before you even knew her name. And I basically helped them get out of it. So that's what I was doing before I got on the call. I just signed a guy up to the program. So that's what I do.
Now, it appears that many of the people in this audience tonight are mostly Gen Xers. And the parody or the irony is that Blind Guy, his wife in their life, and myself, we're actually married. But Mark and Kelly, I believe, are actually divorced. And so with 80% of marriages, divorce is actually initiated by women, there are some men that are actually fearful of divorce. Blind Guy, his wife, their life. I heard you say something that was very powerful on the show called Degreased on Monday, and thank you for coming on. But you talked about something that's very problematic. You said that you was one of those women at one point, but you changed. I want you to tell the audience what you changed as it relates to your behavior, and what can you share to the women that might be listening on the things they need to work on to become a better woman and or wife as it relates to dating, marriage, and relationships.
Yeah, I can't remember specifically what it was I said. I just know that I was, one of those women that just figured, well, I'm a woman, I'm cute enough, men are here, you can, and me and my sister, I have 5 sisters.
Right.
And we have this joke like, oh, you can walk out your door and trip over a man. We really believe that. Like,
right,
we thought they were inexhaustible.
Yes,
and
right.
Just not knowing in our ignorance. Partly because there was really no guidance or training in that direction. I grew up with a really strict Pentecostal holiness background, and so
Me too.
it was So there was really in our fellowship of churches there was not a lot of outside fellowship for the girls. First of all, my 3 brothers all seemed to be really well versed in all kinds of things dealing with girls. And they were all older than me. And so I saw them in action, girlfriends, girls calling the house, everything. But for me, so I guess I just saw it as, well, my brothers all seemed to be, pretty okay with getting girlfriends, getting people attracted to them in and out of the church. It didn't matter. From school, from sports, from church, all these different arenas. So me being young, I just figured, yeah, there's plenty of men out here. Not looking at the equation of, well, these 3 guys are getting how many women or what have you. So I grew up with that mindset. And even though I got married, I got married to my high school sweetheart.
Okay.
So just like Kelly was saying, very similar situation. I was pretty much young and dumb, didn't realize what was going on or how this thing actually worked, and really thinking, well, we're together, but I was always getting other people, what do you call it, cat calls or whatever, men always giving compliments and that sort of thing. So I really still had that idea. I wasn't necessarily feeding into it, but I felt like, yeah, there is an inexhaustible amount of men. I was already married, so I was not on the market to find out that a cat call is a cat call, an actual relationship, a marriage proposal, and then a walk down the aisle is completely different. It's not the same. So I had no idea. I really thought, and I was telling other women this, younger women, older women, these were conversations that we were having, just not realizing. And then meanwhile, I still have my own set of morals, which were, respect your husband, you're with your husband, service him, keep him happy in all the different ways. Whatever his interests are, service those. Whatever his sexual interests are, let's explore, let's enjoy those.
Right.
Whatever is going on, your marriage is the center of your life.
Right.
But I really, it wasn't until recent years that I started realizing, oh, I have 3 daughters and they need somebody.
Right.
What's going to happen if this is where we are? So that's been my mindset of late is, okay, what about the next generation as well?
Well, what you're saying is actually powerful and poignant. And, Kevin Samuels has talked about the winter is coming. Winter is actually coming soon. And, when a woman has a covering over her, she feels at peace. But there are going to be many women as the winter actually will come, but that winter also symbolizes a stage in their life. Kelly, I think me and my blind guy, his wife, and maybe even Ty and Mark on the back end, we're in the fall or the winter of our lives. Not quite the winter yet. I got some summer, still got some summer in me. But the seasons symbolize the time on this earth where eventually you will expire. You said something that was powerful. How so many women. Um, I'm gonna call you BG. Your name is Law. Blind guy, his wife, their life. But you talk about how so many women thought they had unlimited amounts of time when it comes down to relationships. And what do you tell women now that feel like they have a lot of time? What do you share with them? And why do you tell them about the importance of becoming a feminine woman for their husband? Because, so many women now think cooking for a man makes them a slave. They think giving that man, sex when he wants to make him a slave, makes them a slave. And where do those negative permutations come from in your mind? I'm going to call you BGHF.
People call me his wife, so that's fine. You can call me Laquita. You can call me Marie. You can call
Okay,
me BG.
Laquita.
I
Okay,
answer
cool.
to anything. So
Okay, I'll
BG
call
is
you Laquita.
fine.
All right.
Because people also call me blind guy, so it's fine.
All right.
But the question is, what's my advice to the women? What's been my advice to them is what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh.
Yeah, just definitely I try to really just encourage the women to be respectful. First of all, I don't usually use the word submissive as much as I give them the actual actual instructions. Things that I learned, like being respectful is big. Like I would argue in public with Corey sometimes, and I found out that wasn't what you do. It's okay. It's part of being submissive, but also it's part of being respectful. That's my husband now chatting.
Salute to him. How you doing, sir?
Talking about I better not respond to any cat calls when I have him for a husband. Chocolate Thunder is his name. Yes. So yes. So we got chocolate. I got Chocolate Thunder at home.
Right.
So I tell other women be respectful. There are certain things you don't do, and even my daughters. But I tell other women dress a certain way. So that you can be attractive, you can look good, but you look a mess. That looks bad right there. And this looks good, Find out what works for you, but you have a mirror, use it. And one thing that Corey says, Chocolate Thunder, one thing that helped me was him saying, you women, y'all just lie to each other. He said, I'll see y'all in the store, and this was when he was younger, and he would be at the mall, and he would see the girls one goes into the dressing room, she comes out, and all the girls like, yeah, girl, mm-hmm. And then as soon as she goes back into the dressing room to change, they're like shaking their head no and making faces like, nah, she should, or whispering, nah, she look a mess. I hope she don't wear that when we go out together. That sort of thing. All those small nuances are really big because we're lying to each other and giving each other this false confidence, and we're not really telling the truth. It's one thing to say, like we usually don't tell each other, girl, you look fat. Not here in the States. However, women from other countries, in African countries, they will tell each other, oh, you've gotten fatter. I've been told by African women, from Nigeria, from Kenya, oh, you got fatter. I was like, dang. And they were like, no, but you did, And so it helped me to say, oh, okay, we should be honest with each other. And so that's really what I do. I just kind of, give them whatever's going on. I address that thing. When people say, do you cook? Yeah, I love to cook. I hand my husband his plate. I take it to him. This is what you do. That's what I saw my mother do. This is what you do, and they enjoy it. My dad used to eat steak. We didn't even get steak. I didn't realize it was because we were wasting steak. It wasn't because we couldn't afford it or she didn't want to give it to us. But hey, either way, she served him. She didn't serve us the same way. So I saw the difference in what you do.
Right. Kelly, I want you to share with the audience, and once again, share what you feel comfortable with sharing. But I said earlier that 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And when you look back in time, did you ever say to yourself, maybe it really wasn't that bad?
Yeah, I as Laquita was talking, I thought about it. I mean, through and post divorce, I did seek therapy, and I realized that, I was really aggressive, and I did have more, because I was in defense mode. I was always like trying to protect myself from being vulnerable or being really submissive to my husband at the time. And I never saw what a healthy relationship looked like.
Right.
And I came out of my parents were divorced too.
Right.
So when I got into a relationship with him, I was 18 years old. I didn't know. I was figuring it out as I went along. And because I came from a divorced household with my mom, she did everything. So when I got into a relationship with him, I was doing everything and also not feeling appreciated for it. So I became resentful and then defiant. And then I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to help him. I didn't want to do that. I mean, he had his own issues, but from my perspective, I knew that I could have done things and handled things a little bit differently. And now, as a divorced woman, I am dating, but I understand that I have to be feminine and ladylike, and there's strength in being ladylike. And I want to do that. And I want to support my partner, let him lead, have him respect me respect me, of course, but he leads and I support him, and that we can talk about things. But ultimately, it is really what if I'm with him, obviously, I hope that he is of a sound mind. Whatever decision he ultimately decides, he's sought my input and then makes a decision. And that's what I want to have in my next relationship. And I want to be ladylike. I like being feminine now.
Right. I saw you spinning around on your video like Spinderella. But a lot of women, Kelly, are gonna be singing that song by Teddy Pendergrass called "The Whole World Laughing at Me." Silly fool. There's a lot of silly women out here because they basically lied to themselves and they had good men. And what many women don't understand, Kelly, and also Laquita, is that as women get older, you don't have the same options that you had in your 20s. As men get older, actually, if they take care of themselves, eat healthy, work out, the money goes up, the stock goes up, and actually they can get younger, prettier women. And I think a lot of times when women hear that, they get a schema affliction because like, no, that man's supposed to be for me. But here's the conundrum. It's believed that if every woman got married in this country, 2 million women still wouldn't get married. And a lot of men are actually afraid of marriages because with no fault divorce and so many women, more or less perpetuating what I call the chameleon effect. And the chameleon effect is, where you see a lot of women more or less projecting what we call fake femininity. Many men are petrified of the chances of getting married because they don't know if that woman gonna pull the mask off once he say I do. The loving that he got when he in the dating, it stops. She gets fat, the cooking stops, and she turns to a whole different monster. What do you say about that? And before you more or less speak on that, Mark, Donald Smith said, could you ask him about the female covert narcissist abuse and the mental effects it has on their partner or intimate with? And so we'll talk about that at some point too. So Kelly, I want you to talk about that, that the fake femininity and also some dating types that you actually have seen in relationships since you've been dating.
I mean, like I said before, really, women who are my age, who are not married and not in relationships, they, in my opinion, feel that I am okay. I am good enough as I am, and they can have a job, they're taking care of their children and all that. That's fine. But they don't work on themselves, and they don't feel that, they might be a little bit overweight. Guys like me like this, I'm okay. Like there's no responsibility. There's no accountability for who we are. And we're getting older. Our metabolism is slowing. So in the mirror, we see ourselves, or they see themselves, because I'm very honest with myself, almost to a fault, that you see a different person maybe 10 years ago, but what you portray is something different. And on top of that, you've got a nasty attitude. And you approach relationships as I am who I am. You accept me. I'm a woman. I'll have sex with you. I'll cook for you. But really, are you peaceful. Like, I want peace. I want that guy to feel that when he is around me, I give
Right.
him peace.
Right.
And I don't know if a lot of women my age have made that connection yet. Hopefully they do, because it is very lonely otherwise. But I understand that it's about peace for yourself. When you come in, it's and for the other person. And I love to know that he can come and talk to me, and he knows what he's going to get when he has conversations with me, advice and just support.
Right. Mark, Ron Wine said it gets cold outside, and winter is actually coming. And Kelly, I really appreciate your honesty, because, I think Top WME, she said it best. Unfortunately, some of our women won't listen, and unfortunately, many don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. But Mark, I want you to answer the question by the brother, I think Donald Smith, about the covert narcissist as it relates to your book.
Certainly. Most men really want to please their women, right? They want to feel like they're doing the right thing. So a lot of times when you get with our narcissistic women, you pretty much get caught up in doing things to please her. But it will never happen, right? Because there's always going to be something that you're not doing correctly. There's always going to be something that's not good enough, and because of that, you might end up losing yourself and pretty much losing your mental health, because again, you don't necessarily see, okay, well, this person actually needs help. Right? It's not really me because I'm trying to do my best. I'm not saying you're perfect, but a lot of times, we put ourselves in the back burner to please the person we're with. And when you get with someone who pretty much has their own things they need to work on, and unaware of it, you're gonna work yourself crazy, trying to please that person, trying to do the right things for them, trying to get to a space where they will actually accept you. And everything that you do in your sacrifices, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I actually wanted to say something to what Kelly and Blind Guys said. So when Kelly talked about how women, I can't remember exactly what she said, but pretty much what I feel like we're not being taught how to have relationships. Right? We look at our parents. They're not really, teaching children or model relationships that that children can follow. You know what I mean? So when you end up getting into a relationship, well, yeah, that's pretty much what Kelly said. You winging it, right? Because you weren't, either you didn't see it growing up, or you weren't taught how to do it. So I think again, when we grow up in an environment that is dysfunctional, that is broken, we have to take into account that we have to, pretty much work on ourselves before, if possible, getting into a relationship, because we're gonna repeat what we saw growing up. You know what I mean? So we have, again, as parents, we have to teach our children how to have healthy relationships, and that starts with how we have relationships with our partners, wives and husbands.
Dr. Neil say, that's my dear friend. We were actually in Brazil together. I love that brother. I'm 48. I have no kids. He's a professional doctor. He's a professor out of Wake Forest. And he said he has no interest in dating or marrying a woman who is over 30. who's over 35. Oh my goodness. So ladies, when you ladies hear that, what do you think about, and why is that the case, that you guys think that men actually prefer younger, more fertile, and more beautiful women? How does that resonate with you all's?
Wait, I want to interject, because see, the brother over here beside me is laughing. I want to know what he's laughing. I want to hear from him,
because he feels the same way.
Well, no, because he said younger. That's it. Coach Clinton put that other stuff on, more beautiful, more feminine, more. I'm like,
oh well, it's all part of it.
That's a loaded question now. Now the question is loaded.
but ladies, when y'all hear that, Kelly, starting with you talked about the trials of dating.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Because most guys feel like women have the advantage in their 20s. You know,
Mhm.
19, 20, they're born with the hips, the thighs, the breasts. You know, they have their choices pick of men, like Laquita said.
Sure.
When men are younger, you know, women are younger, they have their choices picked, and they feel like that the man variable actually runs never runs out. But as they become older, they have an epiphany, and that magical thinking as a clinical therapist is that the inner, or more or less, that some kind of inner power can more or less influence the impact on the things that they do. But then they come to that reality where it doesn't work anymore. The magic that I thought I had has long gone. You know, Cinderella had magic until 12 o'clock hit.
Sure.
And, you know, a lot of women had the Cinderella complex, but now it's getting closer to 12 o'clock and the fat lady's about to sing. And some of these sisters, once again, are having a schema affliction. But when you hear that, Kelly,
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, that's his opinion. That's been his experience. I take no offense to that. It doesn't apply to me. You know, that doesn't matter. You know, and his interests may be different than, you know, what he might be looking for in an older woman. You know, he's getting something different with the younger person. I think as you age, certain qualities, if they're good, but certain qualities kind of balance out where you're looking for stability. Certainly not someone who's set in their ways in a negative way, but, you know, I'm not interested in going out and hanging out at clubs and doing all those things that maybe younger women want to do, looking a certain way, you know, to seek attention. I'm kind of like a homebody, and, you know, the interests that I have are going to be different, and it may not align with someone. That gentleman, Ronald, you know, we wouldn't have the same interests. So there's a lot of men out there who are like that, and that's perfectly fine, and that's their opinion, and that's his experience. So
right. You made some very powerful points, and that more or less parrots back on what Marcus said. You talked about the impact of trauma and actually not seeing healthy, vibrant relationships from your parents. What role do you think that played in your psyche, Kelly, as it relates to you being a submissive, loving, wholesome woman? And I know that's a loaded question, but more or less, let's encapsulate it. What role did not seeing healthy relationships with your parents play in you not being a submissive woman?
I think unfortunately, I mean, I'm different now because I understand things a little bit differently because I'm more seasoned, but I didn't like having to take care of my husband. It was, you're a grown up, you're an adult. I am also. We have a house, we have children. We should be able to take care of things together at the same level. And I didn't let him lead. Because again, I came from a household. My mom was what I knew. Right. And she was very, you know, she's a Philly girl. She was just strong and she just did her thing. And so I took on those types of behaviors where I got it. Just let me do it. But then after a while, I was like, I don't want to do it. It's exhausting. I'm tired. Me being I kind of took on the role of a head of household, and whether he wanted to or not, he allowed me to do that. And I got tired and resentful for it. And, you know, mind you, we were very young. You know, he was still a year younger than me. So we hadn't really developed into our own individuals. So that counted against us as well. You know,
I think it's knowing what we know now, you know, like the Manosphere and Kevin Samuels and everybody, they're saying, marry someone this many years older. I know when I was younger, they were like, no, that guy's too old for you, you know, but listening now, it's like, oh, that's what we were supposed to go for. Corey's a little teeny bit younger than me. Don't let him say a few years, but he always says I'm older. He has a cougar, but he's just but yeah, I'm like Kelly, you know, when you're young and you just really don't know anything, you also let outside influences influence you. Whatever everyone around you is saying, then you adopt that ideology and you're like, yeah, that's right, I am doing these things. You know, what about me? Or whatever the whatever the mantra is at that time. And I think for me and Kelly, we both had like Oprah. We had like certain figures looking like, yeah, she's doing it, and the boss lady thing. But that's it. I want to hear from the men.
But you're gonna hear from them in a minute. And Mark, we got you. I got you coming up next, Mark. You're on the clock. It's unfortunate that I think some of our women have allowed the ravages of feminism. Unfortunately, some of their girlfriends that are single and a myriad of other factors play a role in them actually being lonely. I never really understood why some women had a problem with the word submission, because submission really is a duality. In the show I did last Sunday called The Art of Femininity, it's powerful when men and women come together, because men and women have been optimized to be synchronized. And so a woman is at her best when she understands her femininity. And see, that's why men like Dr. Ronald Neal have traveled abroad to the sandy shores of Brazil and other countries, because the women there tend to personify true femininity. I'm a firm believer that a woman has to be wife ready. And a lot of American women are not wife ready. They're women, but they're not wife ready. Being a wife has to be a training process. And unfortunately, a lot of men are not necessarily always husband ready. And that goes back to what Mark was talking about, as it talks about the generational trauma that more or less goes on in a lot of relationships. And so because of that, a lot of women come into relationships with a negative persona that if I submit to a man, it makes me a slave. But see, here's the quandary, guys. Black men never had power to oppress black women. We never had power. We never enacted any policies or laws to oppress black women. Now, listen, were there domestic issues between black men? Sure. That's with all ethnic groups. But when it comes down to actual power, we never had power at the macro level. The macro level is where the policies are made to oppress our women. Mark, I want you to talk about the trauma piece. And guys, if you like what I'm doing, please like, share, and subscribe to The Culture Clinician. Hit the notification button, guys. Everyone that's listening, hit the notification button. And please donate to $7 Smalls or hit the PayPal. These shows are extremely time consuming. Many times as a therapist, I'm up all night doing my job and preparing these shows because I want to see men and women liberated. I take what I do serious, and I don't think you're going to find too many clinical therapists with my background giving you this good content. So, Mark, I want you to more or less address the point that Donald asked. Maybe you did already. My brain is spinning a little bit. But I want you to address the part about the narcissist, if you haven't.
I did.
You did? Okay, I apologize.
I speak about relationships. That's all right. There are so many components that play a part in having healthy relationships. And, I don't want to repeat it, but men are simple, right? We don't want much. Like Kelly said, we want peace, right? Right. Everybody wants peace, right? But men want respect, peace, appreciation, and we're good, right? Of course, food and sex, but we're good, right? But I think blind guy, you're married, Kelly, you've been married, and you guys are older now, ladies are older now, and you understand what it takes, to have, a working relationship, right? You've learned that. So I think it's up to, us older folks, right, to start teaching the younger generations how to have healthy relationships, because it's not just going to happen, right? They're not just going to wake up one day and have healthy relationships because the culture is not teaching it. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is, as you wait and get older to get married, you've actually accumulate more hurt, right? And when you end up getting into a relationship, it ends up being more work because you go into it with more traumas, with more, negative experiences. And for a lot of people who get married young, they feel like they missed out on, what they should have, experienced in their early, when they were young. You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter of, again, you have to be healthy. You have to focus on being healthier so you can have healthy relationships with one another. Otherwise, you're always gonna, find yourself in chaos. I was married before for 5 years, and my relationship didn't last because, again, we didn't have great example of what a healthy relationship should look like. And we kind of repeated what our parents did, and before you knew it, it was just like, I want that peace, that Kelly talked about. I want to feel like I come to, if I come home, I'm not just gonna come to a place to fight. You know what I mean? It's not a cage. I want a home. You know what I mean? And then, of course, I wasn't perfect or anything like that, but it's a matter of coming to a space where you understand, what, if I want to have a healthy relationship, I have to be healthy myself. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
For a lot of men, as they get older, it's always said it gets better. We become more refined. We get the salt and pepper beard. We get that swag. And we definitely get that swag if you're a Leo. I got 3 Leos in the house tonight. So if you're a Leo, we know we got that swag. But men become more refined and their options become more plentiful. And so if a man has status, looks, he's very refined, he works out, take care of his body, it's a man's paradise. Ty, I want you to talk about some of the things that you struggle with as it relates to trauma based on how you were raised as a child. And I want you to parrot the sentiment of Mark, what he said as it relates to marital relationships. Unmute yourself. Go ahead, brother.
Yes. So like all of us, we haven't had any experience or proper experiences in relationships. We haven't seen that happening because Black people have a unique situation going on here in America, and there are outside forces that are forcing us not to be in relationships. There's, war and drugs and things like that, taking men out of the households, welfare, affirmative action, dividing men and women. So we've never really had a situation where, as a group, men were in charge. As a group, men were pushing because the dominant society rather deal with the women because the women are easily controlled, through the emotions and things like that. So this has always been in a situation. So I never seen proper relationships. My father died before I was born, and my mom died when I was 15. I was raised by my grandfather for most of my life. I never even seen him with a woman. I didn't see him with my grandmother because my mom's mom died when she was young. So all these and this is because of drugs and sicknesses and stuff like that, just from living in these conditions that we're in. And as I started to get older, I realized that I felt like I was somebody special. I felt like I was somebody who can do something great in this world at a young age. I felt I was very smart, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get in any trouble. Even though I didn't have a mom and my grandfather, I was trying to navigate that. I had a younger sister, and I made sure and try to keep the straight and narrow. However, getting into relationships could steer your life in a negative way as well. If you as a Black man, if you stay out of the prisons, you stay off of drugs, if you get into a bad relationship, that could steer your life in a negative way just as bad as if you were to get in prison. Because what ends up happening as a man, your goal is you can't have a kid. Men can't have kids, right? We can't give birth. So nature didn't tell us exactly what we can do with ourselves, with our body. Whereas women, nature has given them a basic roadmap. It gives them organs that men don't have. So that and they only have a limited time where they can do that, where they can safely have a kid. And if we're talking about, caveman era, there was times when if you had a kid, death is possible, right? For a woman. So she has to be with a man. Now, men, we don't have that role. We just have a lot of potential in us. We have a potential to do anything in whatever society needs. We have the potential to become that, which is why we have problem-solving brains. We think everything we see, we think of problem solving. It's a problem, we try to come up with a solution. That's how men think. That's how we make a living. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, and I allow this relationship to steer me in a negative way. And it wasn't until I got cheated on and stuff like that, going through stuff, that I realized it wasn't even directly after that, but a while after that, I awoke into, I'm allowing myself to get pulled by somebody who doesn't really know what they want, because they're looking to me to guide them. And I'm looking to them to find out what they need. And I'm letting that guide my life. And that's where the destruction happens for all men in relationships. We all mess up in that way because of that connection, that obligation, because we come out of the Black community feeling like we're supposed to look up to women and trust everything that they're saying, but we're not showing how to be a man. And in this society, we're not given the opportunity to control our own communities because we have to leave our community to make money in somebody else's community. We got to leave our people to go make money with somebody else who's going to tell us how we should be and shouldn't be, what our name should be, and what our hair, how our hair should look, and all that stuff. So we're in this environment where we're not used to having power. And then you have these negative situations where we're trying to avert power on the women in our lives, because where else are we going to show it? Or on each other, which is why we have a lot of violence amongst each other. So all these things are happening, and our relationships are in turmoil on all fronts, not just romantic relationships, but the relationships with the elders, the relationships with our young people, the kids, how, with each other, the women, their relationships with each other, the men, their relationship with each other. We're all going through this turmoil. And my role, and that's the reason why I do what I do, because I'm learning from speaking to over 1,000 men, about 1,000 men who've been through relationships, and I'm seeing all the patterns and how to get out of it so that I can bring this back to my people, show them how we can start having proper relationships with each other.
Every man must go through a successive stage of their psychosocial stages of development in order to become optimized. And guys, we're going to look at these different stages of development by Erickson real quick. And we're going to ask ourselves the question, why do so many women wait till it's too late? Laquita, you grew up like I did, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal holiness. And, the gospel says it's better to marry. If you can't contain your virgin in the flower of our youth, it's better to marry than to burn. God knows I remember those days. God knows there were some rough days when you grew up in holiness, man. Woo, boy, you wanted to get it in. And you had to be singing that gold gospel hymn, Yes, Lord, because it was rough. It was real rough. You got shamed for fornicating in the church back when I was coming up. But every person must go through their successive psychosocial stage of development. And so, guys, let's look at this and ask ourselves the question of why are so many women waiting too long to get married? So let's look at it, guys. Hold tight. One minute. I don't think you guys can hear me. Anyway, all right.
Are we going to be quizzed on this now? Are we going to be quizzed? We got a chance to look at it. Now we got a quiz. What was number 2, guys?
So from 21 to 39, that's the critical point. And Laquita, let's talk about in the church why it was so important for women to get married in their 20s. I know part of it was for purity, but you grew up in the Pentecostal church. 21 to 39 is that critical point where most women are actually searching for love in their psychosocial stage of development. But unfortunately, a lot of women have put love on the back burner for careers. But why do you think it's important for a woman to get married when she's younger versus waiting till she's in her maybe mid to late 30s or early 40s? And I know, Kelly, you got married young, so that doesn't apply to you. But in general, to the women that have waited so long.
So you're saying, why should we get married early?
Why do you think women should get married earlier versus waiting till they're like, I don't know.
I think it's just biologically it makes sense. I don't think, like for me, I didn't get married until I was 25. Let me say that. We were together at 17. However, because Corey lost his sight and then, there was like just a big transition there. We got married when I was 25. So by the time we got married, we had been together 8 years, and Corey always says 8 long, hard years. But anyway, like no matter how long we've been together, it's a long, hard in there. So, I think biologically it makes sense. I definitely don't agree with what was put upon us in the church because that wasn't really genuine. It was a one-way story. It was only for the woman. It is better to marry than to burn. The women were the ones that had to stand up and apologize if they got pregnant by the drummer, and the drummer was still playing the drums. She had to sit down from the choir, and he was still playing the keyboard. So nah, that didn't really. And even with the pastors and the ministers and the different folks, and I see you smiling because you're like, oh yeah, I remember those days.
No. Not in my church. It didn't happen.
Not
No,
in your church.
everybody sit down. If they got a woman pregnant, they sit down. We didn't play that, but go ahead.
Okay, and so I saw it both ways. Sometimes they both sat down, but 9 times out of 10, or not 9 times out of 10, sometimes if only one person was sat down, it was the woman. So, that whole it is better to marry than to burn, I don't agree with that per se. I agree more with biologically, it makes sense to get it does make sense to get married when you're younger. And I didn't have my first child until I was 31. I don't think you should really have children very young because you need to grow up and learn a few things. Corey and I had a lot of time to learn about each other. That's how we were able to learn more about working together, being partners, and all of those things. And so, see, Kelly, you always have a suitor.
Yeah, she always
Let
got
me
a
tell
suit.
you. And now Mark is beside you smiling. It's always.
Kelly got that soul glow. But go ahead.
Yes. That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So I do think it's important to get married while you're young, because I will say getting married while young helps you mold to the man better. There were a lot of things I don't care for that Corey has done, has had us do, and whatever. But okay, it's still very easy to stay on board and to say, well, I don't like it, but let's see how we can work with it. Let's see how we can change it, make it better. And then I can communicate with him, because another really big part is communication. You learn to communicate when it's just you and your husband. AJ, look at him talking about quit giggling. He's making us giggle. You, Kelly, you know what I mean? He's trying to make you giggle. Anyways, right. So I definitely will say it's important to get married as a woman when you're younger, because truth be told, Corey has always been smarter than me. When it comes to the ways of the world, common sense, any of that, he just had it quicker than I did. And I was, I thought I knew something. I thought I was smart, but I really didn't know a whole lot. And it's mainly because he's a man. He's with other men. He thinks like men, with or without his sight. Even, he'll get with guys and they're on the same page, because as Corey always says, men do the same thing century in and century out. It's the woman trying to, create new things and do whatever. So I do believe it's important for women to get married young, because then they can kind of get into the mindset of, let me listen to somebody who knows something. Let somebody guide me, and not necessarily off a cliff. But Corey is the one that said, let's try this, let's do that. And he initiated a lot of things. So it was really easy to, go along with it.
Well, a lot of times women like you, and I'm going to say Kelly as well, when you guys try to exude the virtues of being feminine, you guys become pariahs in the Black community. Why do you think the Black community, as it relates to some of our women, is so toxic? And where did that toxicity begin, in you all's opinion? Started with Kelly first.
I wish that we collectively weren't like this. It's kind of like we're strong because the guy's not around, and we have to be the head of household, and we have to work, and we have to take care of all the kids, and they're driving me crazy. And so you get hard, and you get kind of stubborn and set in your ways about things. And for me, that's no excuse. And I feel that's where therapy really does come into play. And then that's another thing that we don't like going to therapy.
Right.
So now we don't need to. We can figure it out and move on and be better, or we ignore it, whatever it might be. But for the women, we need therapy, because obviously what we're doing is not working, because we don't have a partner. We think we have a partner for 3 months, and then we go on to the next one, and that's good enough. Who's the carousel? You're just going around dating multiple people. I'm good for, a quarter, until the next guy comes around. Like, why don't you want a quality relationship? Right. Obviously something's going on that you need to work on yourself, that you're attracting that person. And the same with the men, they have trauma, they have things that have gone on with them in past relationships, and they're bringing it on, and they might be treating the woman a certain way. Maybe, I'm not going to speak for that, but both equally have things to work through. Might be at different terms, time frames, but we all can work to be better, especially if we're leaving a relationship going into a new one, and we start seeing signs, like when you get triggered about certain things, like, okay, that's something's there. That's for me to work on, not that person. Right. Why am I triggered by that? Let me go and talk to a therapist about why that happens.
Right. And here's the quandary, because a lot of people don't believe in therapy. They think therapy is a farce. They don't believe that therapy is effective. Well, let me say this. Therapy is very effective if, one, you have the right therapist, two, the right treatment model, and three, the person is a willing participant to apply it. I'm a licensed clinical therapist, and there are many treatment models or more or less treatment interventions that can be used, but therapy is not a magic wand. Some therapy is what I call psychoanalytical therapy, it's called Freudian therapy, and it's due, a lot of times it's due to severe trauma. So that kind of therapy can last anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 years. But then you have CBT, solution-focused existentialist therapy. And the problem is a lot of our women right now, Kelly and Laquita, are actually going through what's called an existentialist crisis. Because when men and women hit what I call that nexus point, where they're actually staring death at the door. And so at my age, we're going through the stage of Erickson called generativity versus stagnation. Either you're leaving a legacy for the next generation, or you're being stagnant due to your own issues. And those own issues a lot of time can be that schema affliction. And so many people, or for some people, don't believe that therapy is powerful. Therapy is very powerful. Jesus was a therapist. He was the great physician. He was a physical therapist, but he also was a mental therapist. He said, whatever a man thinks, that's what he is. He said, meditate on those things that are good. So Christ himself was a therapist. And so when you get the right person that know how to apply the treatment model, and it's what we have called a perfect collaboration, the therapeutic alliance, then you start getting the outcomes that you want. But you have to do what I call the shallow work. You have to do the shallow work, because if you're not doing the shallow work, you will never get to that those areas in your life that has been impacted by trauma. Mark, I want you to talk about American relationships compared to Haiti, and how the women here are different than the women from your native country of Haiti.
Well, I haven't been there, for a while, but when I was there, the relationship was different in that it was more culturally, I guess, confined, right? It wasn't that you find someone randomly and get married to them. So it was different. You had families involved. They know the person, and you get with the person, and they know the family you're getting into, and they know that you guys are going to be, able to get along and stay married based on the values that, this family has and, that family has, you know what I'm saying? So it was different. And also, sorry about the noise, New York City noise. People were different in that we were dealing with less emotions. I realized, here, everything is emotionally based, right? Everything, like every decision, has to have some type of emotional component to it, which it's not always a bad thing, but it doesn't make always make the right decision, right? And so when you look at relationships in Haiti, again, you're still dealing with some of the same issues because of slavery, right? We were still given the same history, right? A lot of the same patterns Black people learn here is the same thing that we have in Haiti, but the culture was different. So we acted differently. People in Haiti acted differently than people here do. So Again, parents were a little bit more involved in Haiti than they are here, and they weren't afraid to hurt, people, their children's feelings, right? They would be honest with you. And I feel like here parents are not really honest with their children because they, either they want to be their friends or or they respect, the culture that, you're always right. You know what I mean? Like you have feelings, you have to do what's right for you. When in reality, we were given the responsibility of raising those children, right? To guide them, to teach them, you know what I'm saying? So if we allow them to just do whatever they want, then we're kind of doing them a disfavor. So again, the relationship aspect of it, different in the sense that we're dealing with the same issues, less, the first world country has, different issues than a third world country. You know what I mean? Like what here, like, the way that women are independent and able to do whatever they want, whenever they want. And, the whole thing, I don't need a man. I never heard that in Haiti. Because you need a partner, right? That we were all created to have somebody in our lives and to help us, make life easier, right? Because we were not designed to do everything on our own. Right. But that I think that was the major difference. When I came here, I was 17, and hearing that, and it was just like, you actually not happy doing that. Right, you're actually miserable trying to do this life alone because you have money, right? Because you can take care of yourself. That I think that for me, really, my observation was that a big difference. The fact that we, are more independent here and actually unhappy being independent because again, we think we can do everything alone.
No doubt, and that's powerful. Tom, I'll let you answer this question by over the top WME. What does an unhealthy man look like, as the audience want a response, as it relates to his mindset and character? Tom, I'll let you take that one.
Yes. So good question. I always love when women are like genuinely curious about men behavior and like really pay attention. It's very important that since in our communities, we don't have men, fathers, uncles, brothers. A lot of times women first interaction with men is in romantic relationships. When you're in a romantic relationship with a man who hasn't been taught how to be good in romantic relationships, he's not going to be good in romantic relationships. So it's always going to be a problem. You're never going to really get the chance to see what a man is. And that's the reason why it's very difficult for women to even identify what an unhealthy man looks like. So to answer the question, when you're dating a man, in order to identify if that man is a good man, it can't just be about how he's making you feel. You have to look at how he is to himself. Is he getting up in the morning like he says? What's his goals? Are he achieving those goals? How is his friends treating him? How does his family treat him? How do they see him? What does his peers look like? How does he look from the outside? How does he look as a man? How is he performing for himself? Because men we have mastered sweet talking women. We have mastered that already, right? Because it's not that difficult to sweet talk women, especially when they're young. You looking nice, you know what I mean? You say the right words, you can get what you want. But what ends up happening is you can't keep that up, which is the reason why the relationship goes south. Because if you're not the man doing what you need to do for you, it's going to show. Like all your, like at 12 o'clock, that man at 12 o'clock, his stuff going to start showing too. Like his true colors going to show too. So you want to identify how that man is with himself. What is he doing? Every man is doing something. Every single man is trying to do something. If he's not doing something, he's unhealthy. So you ask him, what you got going on? What are you handling? What are you working on? Find out what he's working on, what he's passionate about. And then observe on how he's doing that passion. Is he really doing it? Like Closer Clinician, his passion is this YouTube channel. You're going to see how much time is he spending doing this channel. He's going to be spending time on that channel. He's going to be spending time on them thumbnails. He's going to be spending time on the content. But if a man say, I'm trying to do X, but he ain't spending no time doing that, he's spending time watching sports, playing video games, or doing whatever, then how is he gonna be able to be the man you're gonna need when you get pregnant by him? He's not gonna be that man because he's not just failing you, he's already failed himself. And that's why relationships go south. The woman doesn't leave the man because she hate him. She leaves the man because she sees that he's sinking. That man is sinking. And women can't they would do so much. A man can't joke life back into a man who's already failing. You know what I mean? He has to be around other men who are going to jolt that life back into him. But a lot of us, as young men, we don't have that in the beginning. We becoming men as we're men. As we're older men, we starting to become men and learn what it means to be a man in our 30s and 40s. And the good thing about men is we could turn our lives around at 40 or 35 or whatever. We could turn our lives around. Right? We have that luxury because a man is judged based on his success and achievements, not his looks and his beauty, the way women are. No matter how much success she has, I don't care if she got a Benz, a Maybach, I don't care what she got, a house, that ain't going to make her more beautiful.
Right.
It ain't going to make me more attracted to her. But a man, it does make him more attractive, not because of the money, but what it took to get money, the discipline, drive, masculinity is basically being focused and driving and determination. That's attractive to women. Women are attracted to men who have that drive because it shows that he can take care of things if things go south. Or if she needs him, he'll be able to take care. So that's why this is what's attractive to women.
Well, listen,
and that's
guys,
how you identify.
No doubt. That's excellent expose. Guys, listen, on that note, now, y'all know I'm the kosher clinician, but I'm about to turn to Reverend Ike because these donations are low. Now, listen, guys, I love you guys. You know I love y'all. Y'all have been excellent supporters. But please get the likes up. But please like, share, and subscribe to content. Also, please donate to Cash App. That's Cash App $7 smalls, or also Cash App to PayPal. Now, listen, you guys are getting a star-studded show from two different perspectives. I'm married, Laquita is married, Marcus divorced, and also Kelly. And we're trying to give you a dichotomy between how relationships work, the power of the wall, and why it's so important to more or less operate in your purpose. If you don't have any money to share, which I know you do, but if you don't have any money to share, please share the content to as many people as possible. I love you guys, and I'm trying to help this channel grow, but these shows are extremely time-consuming. And sometimes I'm up to the wee hours of the night after I get back from my office putting this content together. But because I love you guys, I take a lot of pleasure in what I'm doing. There's a question I want to pose to you, Miss Laquita. But before I ask you the question, what month were you born, Laquita?
I was born in January, and I did want to add something really quickly that from what you were just saying about sharing this information, I just wanted to add that I did text it to some friends as well.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Some people think, well, I don't have over 1,000 subscribers. I can't send it out. But we have a lady that we follow, and she says, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Share it in church groups. She says, share it on Facebook. And, she says all of that. And it does make a difference because people will come in when you just send them the link and say, hey, this is live now. It'll be interesting. But so thank you for saying that because it's powerful when people share rather than you just sharing it. And so my birth month is January, actually, January.
So you must be an Aquarian, or what are you, a Capricorn?
Capricorn.
Oh my God, you about that money. You stubborn. You stubborn and you're about that money. You're very practical. But I want to talk about some, Laquita, I call it the Gen X nexus. And the Gen X nexus was that point where many women start to divert from some of the traditional mores of the past that maybe their grandmothers, their aunts, and their great-grandmothers more or less exhibited. Women of the past were more or less more chaste. I'm not saying they were perfect, but they tended to more or less exude that. But that Gen X nexus is when you begin to see the decadence of women and how they conducted themselves as ladies. What do you think was the cause of that? Do you think it was the music? Do you think it was fatherlessness? What do you think played a role in that Gen X nexus where many women start to go downhill as it relates to standards compared to what you see now in this decadent culture called America?
I always say everything, like media is so powerful because in our home, as restricted as we were, the outside influences were there. Television, radio, back when we listened to radio, before we got Sirius radio, and then you could listen to all the stations. And then, of course, now we're into this space where we have apps like iTunes or Spotify or what's the other one where you can, Pandora, where you can listen to anything, anywhere. And then we have podcast upon podcast. And those are the organized people, right? Now, in addition to that, you have the unorganized folks, which is where social media comes in. So you have the big media platforms, and then you have the smaller media platforms. And what happens is you get that reflection of, okay, whatever the big social media is doing, you have the small media following. When I say small media, I mean Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, just the regular everyday folks having accounts, not CNN on Facebook or YouTube, not BET or whoever on those spaces. But what happens is you have those main places showing us what we should be. So you have, CBS or NBC or whoever had the Cosby Show on, whoever had A Different World on, whoever had Jerry Springer on, and Maury Povich. They had those channels. And so then you had the smaller networks of now social media is coming out and people can emulate that because we think, oh, that's what's happening. And don't even start with the music in the 90s. When we talk about Two Live Crew, I mean, if you're listening right now, don't Google it unless you want, unless you are ready. Just the song titles alone. And we used to act out the stuff in the song because it was like, oh, okay, the beat is hot. This was dropping. I guess this is what's happening now. We got to pop that. Okay. So you're doing whatever. And you don't even realize a lot of times the lyrics and the implications. And this is where being a woman, you don't realize the message that you're sending to men. Because if I'm singing Pop That and I'm dancing and I'm doing stuff face down and I'm whatever on the dance floor, I'm just thinking I'm dancing. I'm just thinking I'm being trendy. The men see, oh yeah, Tatiana, we got it. You know what I mean? We are ready. And so the men respond appropriately. So for me, I definitely say media is the biggest influence because my parents are still upstanding people. And they still stand on their original values, and all 9 of their children have done different things according to what we individually wanted to, because we were out here being affected by media. And I really believe, and my siblings, my friends, my network, I see it. I really see it. In my children and their generation, media, it's influential.
Mark Monplaisir, when you talk about the decadence that you see in relationships, I want you to tell the audience, as much as you want to share, what role did you play in the demise of your relationship? And did you feel like your ex-wife actually exhibited some of the negative, toxic behaviors in women that we actually see today?
All right. Yeah. Honestly, I don't usually talk about.
Okay, that's fine.
Our relationship.
Only share what you feel comfortable sharing.
Certainly. We were both dealing with our own detrimental ways. We both had things we needed to work on. We both needed to find our purpose in life. And, we didn't really have great example of what, healthy relationships are supposed to be like. And so we kind of, replicate, our parents' relationships which weren't always healthy. And, of course, there were a lot of, outside external forces, friends, telling what to do and how to do it. We listen. And for me, honestly, what I could have done differently was not allowing certain things to happen, pretty much to lead, right? And I don't think I was leading the right way, because again, I didn't know how to do it. And the moment I felt like I was being challenged at what I was doing, I gave up. You know what I'm saying? Because again, like most men will do that because we don't want to fight to lead, right? We're not gonna fight to make decisions if when we make it, it doesn't work. So I think that was partly where I went wrong by giving up, really, and allowing things to take place. I'm not gonna talk about what she did wrong. It wouldn't be fair because she's not here to to give her side of the story. You know what I mean?
No problem.
But yeah, again, I think it's the same generational issues we carried into our relationship and not knowing how to do it the right way, the healthy way, really.
Right. Laquita, is the femininity movement really fake? And if so, what should men look out for? Because winter is coming, the wall is coming.
Don't mention that wall.
And also the prospect, and and it's sad, of dying alone. But Laquita, it's the femininity movement, some of it fake. And if so, tell the audience why.
I don't think it's fake. I think it's sort of like what Mark was saying. Like, everybody has their role. I really feel like people don't know, and Mark, you didn't say this, but I feel like people don't know what they're doing or what to do or how to do it. Like the instructions aren't there. There's
Yeah.
a breakdown in communication from the top down. So like I said, we went to church 95 to 100 days a week, but we didn't get relationship advice. We just got a whole bunch of bullet points toward us, but we did not get some real basic things like ask a question. Asking a question if you don't understand something, instead of getting upset, ask a question. Ask, hey, why'd you do this like that? Hey, what's going on with this? And ask it with an inquisitive tone, not an issue like you have an attitude or an issue. What's going on with that? Don't ask like that. We weren't given that. We really weren't given those. And so I think the femininity is not fake as much as it is that we get these reality checks when you get married. Then the reality comes, kind of like what Kelly was saying. You're young and then you get married because you're thinking, okay, yeah, let's do what you're supposed to do. Here's the natural order of things. She was doing things the way she had seen them in her home, her mom doing everything. And then the reality came, wait a minute, who wants to do this? But without instructions, communication from a lot of different places, like it doesn't have to come from your parents and only your parents, because of course your parents can tell you everything and you're not going to remember it all. You aren't going to listen to everything. So, but from the community, people in your circle, and teachers, this can be your teachers, this can be your church family, this can be your social circle in your neighborhood or what have you. But if the older people would actually communicate things to the younger people instead of saying, oh, they just don't want to hear it, oh, they just don't care. I was at a wedding yesterday, and it was one of those weddings where they had spent all of this concern over the wedding. And a lot of us were saying, like, I hope they have put this much planning and energy and financing into the marriage. Did they get this much counseling? Did they get this much experience with other married couples before going into it? The way they spent the money and the planning on this. And I've seen it, and this was a younger couple, but I've seen that with older people, middle-aged people, and just to me, there's a breakdown of instruction. So it's not fake femininity as much as it is that you do what you think you're supposed to do to get married. You smile, you giggle, as AJ was saying, AJ's road tripping, you do the giggle thing, you do the right things. But then when you get home and you realize, oh, wait a minute. So I have to, if he's responsible for the bills, why do I have to remind him to pay the bills? You don't even understand that might have been what your parents were doing, but did they tell you that? That might have been what some of the other people were doing. You might get married and think, why is the money separate? What do you mean now I pay 30%, you pay 70% because you make 70% of the income, I make 30% of the income. I didn't know people did that. So then you have all of these different things that come up, and now you're out of pocket, or you look like you're out of order. And so from the men's perspective, it's fake femininity. From the women's perspective, a lot of times it's the naivety of you just don't know. You really don't know. And then your response is your actual self, and it's not feminine, and it's definitely not appreciated. But without communication or training on the communication, it winds up where we are now. We getting talked about, the women, the men, and we're breaking up, and that's not where we want to be.
Right. Well, I'm gonna challenge your query, and then Mark, I want you to piggyback on that, and then Ty, I want you to also come in, and Kelly as well. I think some of the movement that you're seeing circulate now is fake. Some of it is fake. I'm not saying all of it, but I think some of these movements are fake. I call it synthetic femininity. I think some women are actually posing to get the man of their dreams, and then once they get them, the mask comes off. Ty, what's your take on the new femininity movement? And do you think some of it is fake, based on your best estimation?
So I think that there's the market has identified a demand, and that's what that is. There's going to be people who are going to try to support that demand. There are some women who genuinely care about other women, and there's some women who just want to make money, right? So when you start seeing a fake, that's probably the women who are just trying to make money, versus the women who really do care about a sisterhood, right? And that's not, and it's kind of uncommon for other women to help each other like this, because that is never really, women have never needed to come together to help each other, because they always had a man there, and the men had connections with other men, and that's what supported the people. So it would be, if they weren't your sister or your aunt or your grandmother related to you, they were seen as something you wouldn't really be mingling with, because the man is there and in charge of their family. So you have this femininity movement, and I believe women are realizing you're going to lose men, and it's like you can't force them into getting them into your life. You're going to lose them, and a lot of women are realizing, wait a minute, we don't know men, we don't really understand men. They come into a realization like, wait a minute, because before all they had to do was be pretty. When women were young, all they had to do was be pretty. We wouldn't, us men, especially young men, we didn't care about if they were wrong, lied, whatever. She pretty, she coming over, I'll accept it. But as women start getting older, men start to rise, and we start realizing our worth and our value and how we're really judged. Like, we judge based on our success and achievements. As we start getting older, our value rise. We start seeing ourselves and how valuable we are. Now we start looking more critically at the women. And now they have to do things to get us. And they don't have an idea on how to do that. Because before, just looking pretty was all that worked. And that's the reason why now, as women getting older, we have this uprising in surgeries and all that stuff, because there's this warped perception of what men want and what men need. And a lot of women think it's just sexual attention. And, if I'm pretty, that's all I need to do. And that's not the case. And that's why these femininity schools are coming out. And hopefully there's some out there that really help women, because they need it. I mean, I'm kind of doing the opposite of that, right? I'm helping men out of relationships. I'm an image coach as well. I help men improve their image, things that they were supposed to learn, or at one point did learn from a masculine environment. But now that there's when you suck out the masculine in a culture, you also suck out the real true femininity of a culture, because now you have feminine women trying to be masculine. And then there's some men who are letting that happen. And as they let that happen, they become more feminine. They start getting into their feminine energy. And this is what we have it's like things are kind of a little off balance here. And that's what's really propping up. That's what I see at those femininity schools. Of course, there are going to be some fakers, and everything is going to be fake. But I believe some women are getting value from it. So hopefully that continues and it gets better.
Mark, what's your take on what Laquita said as it relates to the femininity movement? I think some of it is synthetic. I think some of it is fake. But give me your take on it, please, Mark.
I think both are right. Well, all three of you are right. There's a fake aspect to it, and there is, a real aspect to it as well. Because I think, some people are realizing that, whatever we've been doing, it hasn't been working. But at the same time, it's not just about being feminine. It's about learning, the roles that you have to play to be a wife or a husband, right? You have to understand what they are. You can be feminine and go into a relationship and still cannot be cooperate with someone and still don't know what to do, right? And also you have to be healthy. Again, you have to be healthy to have a healthy relationship. You know what I'm saying? So it is it fake? There will be some fake people, because they want to explore the trend, right? It's a trend for a lot of people. But I think for the most part, it's getting real, because a lot of women are realizing it's just, I don't want to be alone anymore. I was actually talking to this young lady earlier, and she was saying how she just she doesn't want to be alone, right? Because she's in her late 30s. She understands now the value of having a companion and what she has to do to be able to, to have that and maintain it in a healthy way. So I think a lot of women are definitely learning what it means to be feminine and what it means to be healthy and what it means to have a relationship with the opposite sex. I also want to say something about that. There was a comment that said the woman is always right. I think that is something that is also
It's a true statement.
it is. Well, let me tell you though, but I think it's actually breaking our communities. It's breaking families because nobody's always right. And I remember when I was getting married, two of our marriage counselors actually said, "Well, listen, if you get, if things are not going, the way you want them to go, just remember the woman is always right." And I think a lot of us men in the Black communities, kind of embrace that advice and just put our heads down and let the woman do, right? And then when that happens, a lot of women become resentful because, well, that's not the role they're supposed to play. But because we're being taught that, well, the woman is always right, so you don't fight with them to keep the peace. You just put your head down and then do what they say and go with however they want things to go. But that doesn't create healthy relationships. It doesn't help family. So I definitely disagree that, the woman is not always right. She's not always wrong. The man is not always right and he's not always wrong. So understanding that, it's not about, believing that the woman is always right. It's about, understanding each other, right? It's about listening to each other and taking into consideration, each other's point of views and belief system. So I was laughing.
I was not being serious either.
I know. No, but I was laughing when I read that because it's a true thing in our communities, and it's definitely doing damage.
Well, in the old Pentecostal church, they used to say, "Praise the Lord." I want to send a special shout out to my man Todd Maynard Cutler. Thank you for that Leo love offering, brother. Your kindness is greatly merited. When I get to the top, I'm going to remember you. You'll get your 3 stacks emailed to you or cash out to you direct. So thank you, Todd. And also, I want to thank for an extremely generous super chat donation, Nebal Adams. Extremely grateful, brother or sir. I'm extremely honored, man. That was so kind of you. I really appreciate that, sir. And I'm grateful. And see, when people give to this show, it makes me fight even harder. Many times I'm sitting up tired, sometimes 1 or 2 at night. I'm saying, I'm tired of this stuff because it's exhausting. And, Kelly is a YouTube creator and also Blind Guy, his wife, they're like, guys, also, I'm going to let you guys talk about your channels as well. But it's very exhausting, especially if you're working. But when you get the kind of love and generosity that I'm receiving tonight, it makes it all worthwhile. Like they used to say in the old Baptist church, I think I'll run on and see what the end going to be. but Kelly, I want you to ask you a question. Why is it that? Queen laugh.
I know we laugh because we're singing that song in our head. Like, yeah, I believe how. Go ahead.
LaQuita, why is it that women feel like they can have standards and men can't? Charles Abrams say, "Ran-throughs don't get to choose to get married," and so I can tell by the energy you ladies are very wholesome. I can tell. I have a detector. You ladies look very wholesome, Kelly and LaQuita. One, I know you ladies are wholesome because you got married very early. But men are very funny about the women that they marry. And listen, we know people are human and people make sometimes bad choices due to trauma and lack of whatever. And some of it is bad choices. But when men decide to get married, they're very serious about the woman in their life. But why does it appear, Kelly, that women can have standards? But when a man says she can't be overweight, she can't have too much fun, she can't have, 5 kids by Raekwon, Man, and Shermite, then all of a sudden it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I do not agree with that. We both can have standards. It's more than acceptable. I know that I was watching another YouTube channel and they made it a negative thing that men had standards, but the women could say, I'm 6 feet tall, want them to have 6 figures, that 666 thing.
Right.
And again, it goes back to women. This is who I am. You accept me. I work, so I can't go to the gym, or I work and instead of cooking, I'm going to go pick something up. Like all these types of things, we we make as an excuse. And then when it's turned on us, it's a problem. And I think we were talking about the femininity. I think that we are riding a wave in a certain sense, because now we can work, we can earn just as much or more than sometimes men in some cases. So we're a little bit have an attitude about that, and not want to be told what to do. And when we're younger, we understood submission in a way where we are quiet, we don't have a voice, we don't get to speak. And I think those types of things we learned as we were younger. And so we carry that on. So when we start making our own money and we have, our house and car, we have a certain attitude about it. Like, no man's going to tell me what to do because I was doing good without you. And, you're only here maybe for a season. So you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. And just you compare yourself with social media. All these things are out here now. We're comparing ourselves. We want that happy relationship, but you don't know what's going on in that other relationship. So you're constantly, when something goes wrong in your relationship, you want to throw that man away and find another one to see, okay, well, maybe this one will be right. Like, we have quantity over quality because we think that I can replace him. I hear a train. Is that the wall?
It was a car. That was the wall pushing back, right?
That's the wall.
So that's the thing. Like, we and then we get older and we realize, like you were saying before, the options become less, and then we're on the fast track to find someone, and they don't want you.
Right.
So what do you do?
Can I add something right there, though?
Yeah, go ahead, Laquita.
A big thing I feel is that, speaking of media, because Kelly was just saying about, money. That's one of those media things that's been put on us, that money is everything. And I say this because a big thing is that the reality for a lot of people is that they didn't have men in their lives. So they don't understand men. They didn't see enough men. Like, I had 3 brothers. I had a dad. I had grandfathers, and my mother, she had a mother and father that were married, but it was her dad. And my grandfather actually was one of those men that had 2 full households. And he told them, these are your brothers and sisters over here with this lady. She's across town. And they knew them growing up. Mm-hmm. But my grandfather was the one, she understood that he was taking care of both households. And he let them know that, like, I'm managing this. I'm taking care of both households. And so just most women, part of what we don't see, because society took our men out, like the other brother said, whether it was guns and drugs and, other social factors that took our men out of our households, a lot of women don't even know how men operate, the value that they bring. I saw my brothers doing things, and this was when I was broke. All of us were broke because we were children. I saw what they were doing, that was the things that I was never going to even have to think about doing. They were doing some hard work, hard labor, whatever my dad told them to do, asked them to do, they would do it. And then they would initiate things. And so now the emphasis is on money. So women believe, oh, okay, great, I've got the paper, I don't need the man. But there are just so many things that if you knew more about men, many women, that they wouldn't even bring all the money into it, because I can out earn Corey any day of the week simply because he's underemployed as a blind person. People who are blind, they just they have a downfall in life starting off, and he lost his sight at the age of 19. That was his situation. Right. And so, as we were married, it's like, oh yeah. And as a nurse, I could out earn him easily. Mm-hmm. That's where he said, let's start this business. Okay, let me follow you. Because I understood the value of a man. I understood that regardless of how much money we had, when he spoke, people listened. And I'm like, I just said that same thing 7 times, maybe 12. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by the paper doesn't matter as much as society makes us think it matters. And that's where the media comes in for me. And from what I've seen and experienced in all the different pockets of, social life and different areas of communication. It's the lack of men's presence that have people devaluing men also.
Kelly, I'm not Kelly, and I'm gonna come to Kelly in a minute, but Laquita, did you struggle sometime because you were making more money? Did you ever struggle to usurp the authority of your husband, or did your Pentecostal background keep you grounded? Because, I think some women don't understand, just because you make more money than your husband does not make you over your husband. That man is still expected to be the chief executor in that family. And so sometimes women equate the money they make to being the head in the relationship. But were there any struggles with you, Laquita, if you don't mind saying, as your husband was the head of the home and should be the head, did you ever struggle with following his lead as a man because he make less money?
Yeah, I think not because he made less money, just because I thought I knew more. Just because it was that whole, oh, well, women can do things and girls, anything boys can do, girls can do better. All those lies we were told.
Right.
I had brothers. I knew better. My sister could punch me in the arm, and my brother could punch me in the arm. No, she could not do that better.
Right.
Right. And I say that because I was one of the younger siblings that would fight my brothers and sisters. But typically, just the everyday things. Corey has always been a better thinker. He's always been the one to make good common sense decisions, and he could look at things differently so that. And for us, I do believe that my Pentecostal background made me say, okay, my money is your money is my money. We're going to pool this. We're just going to move forward together because we are just growing and, moving forward together. And so in that way, it definitely wasn't necessarily the money as much as it was just me, trying to be a know-it-all or listening to, girl, you can do it.
And I'll say it once and I'll say it again. A lot of women help sabotage the relationships of their women friends because they listen to women. Men do things based on principle. We don't do things based on feeling. And because we do things based on principle, it's pragmatic. Mr. Nice once said, most only want to please us in the sex department when we're doing everything right. I want to ask you a question, Kelly, and you answered this question to your own judgment. But do you feel like if a man is working hard and if a woman chooses to galvanize sex for whatever reason, that's grounds for a man to not only get sex outside the marriage, but also to potentially divorce her? What's your take on that? You're in the hot seat. You're in the hot seat. I hope you didn't do it. You didn't.
I know, right? I know that women do use sex as like a treat, like that they can take away and give. I don't agree with that at all. That might be the one positive thing about being in your 40s. Like our sex drives are much higher, I feel, than when I'm younger. But yeah, I feel that for that specifically, that is part of being in a relationship. That's a core piece, being intimate and having that kind of closeness with someone. So to use that is wrong. And that is certainly a recipe for the demise of the relationship. I mean, it's a critical part of it. So I don't play with that.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Did you ever get tempted to do that, or did you do it? And did you feel bad for, galvanizing sex? Because I did a show back in the past called Taxation Without Representation and the Mental Breaking of the American Male. Did you ever get tempted, or did you ever galvanize sex as a reward or punishment when you were married to your husband? If you mind sharing. If you don't want to share, that's fine.
I mean, I really have to remember as a reward. I mean, you're having a good time. It's just naturally going to happen. But on the flip side, if I was mad at him, probably like, I don't want you to touch me. Like, don't bother me. But, it wouldn't be because he didn't take the trash out. I'm not going to. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be something significant, but never really intentionally as a weapon. No.
Right. What's your take on that, Laquita, about the galvanization of sex? And then Ty and Mark, I'm going to ask you guys a question. If a woman does galvanize sex, what should be the outcome?
So that's the question. If a woman does galvanize sex, what should be the outcome?
No doubt. So you and I grew up in the Pentecostal church, and the gospel says that
you don't deny
your husband unless you're fasting and praying, and that's only once you guys you got to come together and more or less make a concession. But after that, come back together unless the devil come in. So it's called the do benevolence. It basically means do what's good. And so many women use sex as a weapon. Say, well, if you don't do what I say, you ain't getting no sex. And I say, this is what I say, try that with me, and you're gonna be singing that song by Patti LaBelle. You're on your own, because I don't play that. I still got some fire. They used to say, the old folks said they got plenty of grill at the top, but plenty of fire in the oven. So I got plenty of fire in the oven. I might be 50, but I still got some fire in the oven. But what's your take on that, Laquita? If a woman uses sex as a weapon towards her husband, because sex is very important for a man. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, my take is that for the most part, yes, women should not use sex as a weapon. I mean, it's one of those things where, for me, it goes back to communication. Rather than just assuming, or not rather than just assuming, but rather than just saying, well, I'll just be upset, I'll just limit this, or I'm not doing this or that, I'm not cooking, I'm not having sex, I'm not cleaning, I'm not paying attention to X, Y, or Z. No, that's where we have to communicate. Have I always known that? Nope. That's one of those things where, like I said, where are the instructions? Where's the guidebook? What else can I do in this situation other than say, man, don't be looking at me. But so, it's where I feel like that's where, nope, never use that as a weapon. Always use your other tools in your box, and again, a big one is communication. Right. Figure out, well, what's going on? What else can we do? How can we figure this out, work through it together? And of course, makeup sex is always one of what people like to say, yeah, that just, there's something you can do. Makeup sex, make sure you get through the problem so that you can get to the good stuff. Like Kelly was saying, you're having a great time here. So, it shouldn't be used as a weapon, but also part of the issue with that whole, the whole sex as a weapon thing is, I did say, Corey's a better thinker, and but we're not gonna. I won't say it again. Okay. And honestly, that's another thing. I didn't always realize that he was a better thinker. So again, we women, we think we know so much. We think this is the right thing to do, and withholding sex, we sometimes believe that's the right thing to do, and we don't even realize that. In our being upset, or I'm not over this yet, or let me work through, and I'm still trying to figure out my feelings and what I feel about X, Y, and Z, we are withholding, and it's not fair. It's not right. There's a better way to deal with things.
Tom and the Cutler, if you're dating a woman and she denies you sex, if you're being the excellent man or you got to beg for sex, what should be the outcome?
It wouldn't get to that point, one. So usually there's two types. Well, first of all, if we won't be in a relationship no more, right? It's like we playing those games, that's it. Next. I'm gonna explain why that's so important. But there's two types of situations where a woman is denying a man sex. One is a situation where she's using it as a weapon, like we mentioned. But then there's the situation where she wants to but doesn't want to. Right, she wants to want to have sex, but she don't have the urge, the attraction. It's like men, we could just at any point we could turn it on, right? We could see something and we ready, but women don't operate that way, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have some situations where a woman wants to want it, but she doesn't want it. And when you're in a situation like that, there's other problems happening in the relationship. There's other things that's going on that's creating this dilemma that the man doesn't really realize it until sex is pulled, and until he's realize something is being taken away from him, right? So, but if a man is in a situation where he's in a relationship with a woman and the sex is not in the picture, is sexless and all that stuff, how can that man go out there and be great? How can he go and go and do his mission and achieve? You know what I mean? How can he do these things? How can he do the things that he want to do that he's supposed to be doing if he's not getting replenished, right? Sex is more than, when women think about, I just want sex all the time. It does more than just make us feel good. It has a sense of way of calming us, because the world, especially for Black men, the world is rough. This is a rough world for us. We're not going and doing business with our brothers. We going and doing business with them. And we got to go and do business with them and come back and bring it back to you. That's hard. It's not easy. And not only that, but brothers don't necessarily come together either. So we tripping over each other trying to get to success. You know, we got to watch after, you know, other people trying to bring us down, the law trying to bring us down. We seeing stuff on the news with our brothers being taken out. You got people on the news where men are being emasculated. So now people think that they can just play around with us because they see us all the same. We got a lot of stuff going on. So you start disconnecting from your boyfriend, your husband in that way, and that becomes a new problem for that man. So if I'm in a situation like that, it's over. I don't have time to even discuss. I'm not even having one conversation about it. Not one about it. It's over. And then next. And that's how I deal with that.
No doubt. No doubt. I respect that. Mark, mon plaisir. You know, in French, we say, oui, monsieur. But what's your take?
I'm actually laughing because that was actually part of the reason I got divorced.
Oh wow! Let's talk about it. Let's talk about
it.
Let's talk about it.
It is a very frustrating situation when you're in it. And especially if you have a very high sex drive and you really want the person you're with. But what I actually got to a point of doing was actually praying to not want her. And that, when I finally got to a space where I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna bother trying to have sex with you. And I was actually able to leave because I felt like that had a hold on me. And every time I would actually go out, like the brother was saying, your mind is clouded, right? You feel like you just can't focus because you want to have sex, right? But you're married and you want to be with the person you're married to. And what would happen a lot of times, men don't realize that there are issues in the relationship because we're not emotionally thinking about the things that women are thinking about, right? A woman will, think about emotional problems. Like, well, things are great, like everything is fine, right? And then when she gets to the point of not wanting to have sex, it's like, well, I don't see what the problem is. And at that point, you just, as the man, you're just like, you know what? Maybe there's nothing left, right? If you don't want to have sex with me, then it's just because you don't want me, right? It's not because of the emotional problem that's created, by you really, but it's because you don't want me. And at that point, it's just, you feel rejected, you feel neglected. And there's no point of wanting to be there anymore. And for me, it was just like, you know what, you pretty much ended the marriage when you decided not to have sex.
Oh, I totally agree. I think it's, unless it's medical or some kind of psychological issues, I think it's grounds for a man to, either leave a woman or take care of his needs. I don't think women understand, how powerful a man's sex drive is. And, Kelly, you talked about it, when a woman gets in her 40s, the more eggs are releasing. And I don't know if a woman's sex drive in her 40s is equivalent to a man's sex drive in his 20s. I don't know. But as men get older, younger, when men are younger, their testosterone is extremely high. And to me, I think it's emotional abuse to put a man in a predicament where he needs to, let his essence out, but he's, being backlogged because his woman is galvanizing sex for whatever reason. And it's very unfortunate. Guys, we talked about something called, Kevin Samuel talked about dying alone. And so that term is a very generic term as it relates to the concept of dying alone. It's very generic. As a clinical therapist, I created a term called death by proxy. And then also the last one is called death by desperation. Now I want you to listen. Some will suggest that every man that's listening will die alone. But it's ideal, Laquita and Kelly, to have your husband at your bedside before you take your last breath into the afterworld. That's called death by proxy, meaning they're an approximation to you holding your hand, hopefully, if you gave him sex. Before you cross over on the other side. But Erickson talked about a terminology called ego integrity versus despair. And so I took that and flipped it and called it death by desperation. Ego integrity says, Kelly, that I've, similar to what the Apostle Paul said, that I've kept the faith and now has laid upon me a crown of life. Ego integrity says that I've done everything in my power. I left a will. I was looking at your channel. I left a will. I left a legacy for my children. And now I'm ready to cross over in peace. But despair says that a lot of women are going to be saying on their deathbed, DAM, I gave up my best years chasing careers. I gave up my best years going after the bag. I got this big house. I got the money. I got cars. And these damn cats going to eat me up once I cross over. And so, and I'm being funny, but it's sad at the same time. But what's your take on this whole phenomenon of death by desperation? Because it's a very perilous thing to know that when you breathe your last breath, that you're going to be by yourself and no one's going to be there to hold you or to hold your hand or to rub your forehead before you cross over into the afterlife. Have feminism lied to women, Kelly and Laquita? And if so, what is the antidote to that magical thinking? And I know I said a lot of stuff, but what is the antidote?
Take it, Kelly.
Oh boy. In my opinion, I agree that us women are going to come to a place where we're going to be by ourselves. And that's why, like now, me being in my 40s is important to lead by example, that you don't want to be by yourself. And, women want to, like, I can do everything. I can go and travel. They've got all those like groups where you can travel alone and do all these things. That's all fine and good. But at the end of the day, you want to have someone who is with you, and it's not your children. Your children, they're not responsible for you in that way. They care for you, all that stuff. But we're supposed to have a companion. And if you're stubborn and you're set in your ways and you have certain standards that are unrealistic, that's where we're going to end up. I mean, that's simple and black and white. That's what it is. And I don't want that. So I look at myself and look at some of the things that I can change so that I can attract the right person. But we can't just be, I'm going to stand as I am. And, 20 years later, you're still that stubborn person, but now you're older, you're fatter, you got, gray hair, wrinkles, and think that someone's going to really want you. And you have a bad attitude.
Right.
Like, again, it's going to be. And women my age now should start, if they haven't already, looking at themselves, not, oh, it's the outside environment that needs to adjust to me. No, that's not it. It's you. And you attract, I believe in karma, you attract what good you have in you. So that's my opinion. There are going to be a lot of lonely folks, men and women, but from my perspective with women, there's going to be a lot of women who they have a lot of girlfriends.
Well, I think men, for the most part, we understand because, I think men are held at a higher level of accountability than women. We know that a lot of times we might have to die alone. When it comes down to the homelessness rate, men are more homeless than women and children. Men don't get the aid of the government. We just have to figure it out on our own. We either sink or swim. Laquita, what's your take on the prospect? And I don't think that's going to happen to you. I think your husband's going to be by your bedside, or you're going to be by his bedside. And I say you are blessed. You are blessed beyond measure. And I don't think you realize it. And Kelly's shaking her head. But, thank God you didn't become a fool and give up on your marriage, because so many women have given up. They thought once they got out of the marriage, they can, I can find better. And no, that's simple. Because most guys, once they get a certain age, the men that got money and status, they want younger women. They'll play with you. They'll have sex with you, but they ain't going to take you serious. But I want you to more or less pontificate that real quick.
I think exactly what you're saying is true. Glad I wasn't a fool, because even when people would say, and people say it now, that was nice of you to stay with him or whatever. And I'm like, well, Corey didn't have any issues. Like, he lost his sight, but he was a great person before he lost his sight. He still was after he lost his sight. And of course, we had to work through logistical and practical things. And so, logistical things like, okay, you can't drive. Great. I love to drive. No big deal. Of course, nowadays you have options. Uber, we have other transportation options so that I don't have to drive him everywhere. You can work through those practical things. But we didn't have problems with him being a liar or a faker. I wasn't any of those things. He wasn't a cheater. I wasn't any of those things. And so, from that respect, it made sense. Like, oh, we found good people. Why keep looking just to be out there, as Kevin Samuel would say, on the carousel for what? And so I will say that, my natural father died when my mom was pregnant with me. So he died in a truck accident. He drove 18-wheelers, big rigs. And she was married very soon after. And like Kelly said, older, fatter, and whatever. She didn't wait until she got older and fatter with an attitude. She got married really quickly. So she had already had 3 children. And her wedding day picture, she was stacked. Like, I'm like, dang, you look back and you're like, wait a minute, she was thin. Like, Kevin Samuels always says that, go back in your photo album, look at how the women were, look at the sizes they were. It's true. And I believe that she got married pretty quickly because she realized, why wait until you're older and fatter? She found a man who already had children. She had some children. They got together. They had another one. We became the Brady Bunch. It was work. But the point is, you do what makes sense once you know better. I guess she already knew something. She knew that no need to get older, and because she had already been married, she'd already had that experience. Society is not telling us that as far as the media is concerned. That's what I always lean over to. And just like both the gentlemen just said, sex is very important for you all.
It's very important.
Us women don't even realize that. What they're telling us right now is that, girl, just beat your face. Make sure your makeup is right. And we got all of these girls that are cute in the face and thick in the waist. And it's like, you look like a ham sandwich and you need to tighten that up and you need to fix this, but we're not telling each other that. You know what I mean? So it's like, so yeah, I definitely say, we just need to get it together. We really need to be more, hey, that's right, pull the cut in. But, I think it's great that we have these conversations opening up so that the blinders are being pulled off of the women. Because honestly, we've really been damsels in distress. Like damsels in distress from the standpoint of ignorance of what's really important to the men, what really is important for our roles. And we're getting back to that very slowly, hopefully, surely, because we still have these celebrities out here, the Mega Stallions and the Cardi B's or whoever, and all the celebrities that are out here getting BBLs and different surgeries and still weaving, wigging, and sandaling it up, and so we still have that in front of us. But slowly but surely, we also have more of a balance coming in. So, and I like it that the men are speaking up because, Corey was saying this stuff, but was I always listening? No.
And it's unfortunate. That's why I took it upon myself to create the kosher clinician, because if it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. And so there are 7 principles. But my point is this. I did that because, like Corey said, many men need outlets. Many men internalize their pain and their pathologies, Kelly and Laquita. And when that happens, men become dangerous. I've always said that a hopeless man is a broken man. I mean, a broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. We have taken the masculinity out of a lot of men. And that's why you see movements like the passport game. Men are traveling abroad to find women that are feminine, fit, cooperative, and actually respond to their masculine vibration. And so, I never understood why women get mad, because some of the same women that, won't even look at that man when he was single. Why should you care? You don't want him anyway, so let that man live. And so men are looking for a place to find solitude and peace. As Todd said and Mark said, being a black man in America can be hard. It can be very difficult. And so it's real powerful when you come home to a feminine, genuine woman, because I think there is a lot of contempt for our black men. I don't know why, but that feels like there's a lot of contempt for our brothers. And when a man got to fight in his home, but also fight the world, it slowly kills him. When a man comes home, he wants to recharge. And he wants to recharge by a woman that knows how to calibrate that masculinity and turn it into something powerful and potent. I want to ask you a question. One thing I was impressed with Kelly, I saw her page and I was looking at her page. You're doing a great job. You're a pescatarian. You work out. You look very nice for them. I've had 3 kids. You don't even look like it. You take health serious. You stretch. Your hair is pretty and natural. Your skin is clean. Look at Mark over there laugh.
I'm laughing because you said you stretch.
well, yeah, she do stretch. I mean, she does yoga. But my point is, you've kept yourself together. You don't look fat and out of shape. You look very good. I don't know what your age is, but I know you're in your 40s. But why is that so important to you? And I want you to tell the women how fitness and eating healthy can actually get them greater outcomes faster.
I mean, I think especially since we are aging, as I'm aging, I have to work a little bit harder. And I want to still be attractive, although I'm older and approaching that wall, right? So I have to do certain things so that I feel good about myself. And I know I'm not the 20-year-old, and I'm not comparing myself to those who are 20 and 30 or even 40. But I'm doing my part to feel inside my best self, that I can be confident and feel good about myself. And then also I want the man to also carry himself in a certain way so that we're a strong pair. So I'm just trying to do my part by eating right and having a good attitude and just getting out. And life is too short. I talk about, I never want to lay on my deathbed and have any regrets that I didn't do something because I was afraid, because I was lazy, whatever. I just want to live and maybe that's the fast track because I am getting older. I feel like I have to make up for things that I didn't do before for all those other reasons. So thank you. Right.
What's your take on the importance of nutrition and health as it relates to relationships, Laquita? And then Mark and Ty. Mark is a personal trainer, I believe, and Ty, he works out some. I'm trying to get my swag back. I got to start running. I walk, but these hips be hurting sometimes. But Laquita, why is it important to keep yourself looking pretty for your husband? Your skin is very clean. You look very organic. I can tell you and your husband cook lean, clean foods. But why is it so important for you to keep yourself looking good for your husband? Why is that so important?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, so I'll be completely frank and transparent, honest, or whatever the buzzwords are here. My skin, I have imperfections, so I definitely wear a foundation. I've always worn lipstick. Absolutely. I've always worn lipstick even before I was wearing foundation. And a couple of the reasons why I do that is because of we have to present in front of other people. And my hair is snow white. Yeah, my hair is snow white. So
really?
I color it, absolutely. And so I tell everybody this. It's no secret. Now, I have to try to look a certain age because I was 19 when Corey last saw me. So he knows me as a 19-year-old. So I got to try to, stay looking as close to 19 as possible.
That is so true. So I want you to talk about that because that is so true. That is so true. Keep talking. That's good.
Yeah. And then also I notice the reception that we get. So I look a certain way for Corey, not just because for him to see me, but when people see us together, I'm a reflection of him. They need to know that this man has a woman who cares about herself, who wants to look a certain way for her husband. That's a big part of it. Corey and I, we're storytellers. So we present to people, oh my goodness, over the past 25 years, a lot. Just a lot of audiences. And being in front of the public, you see how people respond to you when you look one way and when you don't. So when I look dusty, I was like, nope, can't go out like that. That was an accident. No. Put the face on, keep the smile, do whatever you're going to do because the reception is there. And people also tell Corey, they seem to like to tell him that you have a beautiful wife. Oh man, I hope you know how beautiful your wife is. Well, they think because he can't see, he married King Kong. But the thing is, so I don't wear a lot of makeup. I just wear enough to give a polished look, a clean look. I just and I don't color my hair necessarily, any particular color other than just to keep it, pretty uniform and not Snow White because I don't like it white. My side of the family, we gray early. People used to think my mom was my grandma when she would come to all the school functions. So I know how that is. So I do that partly for my children, partly for my husband, and I stay fit and because your health is your wealth. So I stay a certain size because that also is a reflection on Corey. I keep my fat suit on when we go out. That long line girdle those women used to wear at church.
It's a fat suit.
Nowadays they call it a waist trainer. I have 3 daughters. I tell them, y'all, this is a fat suit. If you walk and you are still moving, if you walk and you stop but your body keeps moving, get you a fat suit. That's not a good look for anybody. They call them waist trainers, whatever they're gonna call them that. But meanwhile, even without that, I don't wear it every day. I don't need it because it's important to make sure that you stay a certain health, stay a certain fitness because your health is your legacy, and you can't go very far, very long without really staying on top of that. So that's our main reason for doing it.
Ty Maynard Cutler, you're an image coach, and the image is paramount to the psyche of a man. I want you to tell the audience why men, even though we know our women will age, we still expect our woman to look the same way we saw her when we first met her in our 20s. And I think it's a subconscious and a conscious thing, but why is that so important? And then, Mark, I want you to piggyback on it as well. Go ahead, real quick, Ty.
Yes. So one of the catchphrases that's come out in this whole manosphere thing is the wall, right? Women are talking about they're going to hit the wall at a certain age. Here's what happens, right? When a man is with a woman at a younger age and she ages with that man, he doesn't really see her aging. He has these attachments to her from when she was younger. So if he was to meet her, if they were together in 20s and then they last until whenever, if he was to meet that 40-year-old woman when he was 40, she would be a 40-year-old woman to him. But since they were in a relationship from 20, he still sees that youth in her. He doesn't notice that her body is changing her fate. He may notice it, but it's not like a stark difference as if he just met her when she was older. That's the reason why it is important for relationships to work. Because once you're out there and when you're older, now what happens is a lot of women, especially if they haven't really learned how to be feminine and they're trying to do, the body stuff and all that, they don't even realize that there are ways to be more attractive than younger women in other ways, right? There's a sense of elegance that older women can have that younger women don't even try to achieve. They're not trying to be elegant, right? Like Laquita has an elegant look, right?
Right.
That's sensuality, seduction, and all that stuff. That's on a different level. And because a lot of young women only see themselves as, because of media, and that's how they've been seen, only see themselves as sex objects because of their body. They don't even realize the true essence of seduction and how they can be elegant without showing their body. They can be sexy and cover up more. And they're not taught this and they don't learn this. So they go into adulthood and womanhood. That diagram you showed earlier, it talks about how when women get to a certain point, they're not supposed to be sex objects forever. They're supposed to take what they learn as raising kids. They the one who raised the kid from 0 to 21, whatever, and then they use that power, that knowledge to start giving back to humanity, because they're the ones who know how to raise people. They raised people so they can give that kid. That's what feminine energy is and why it's needed. Masculine energy is creating with our minds and going against nature. Feminine energy is supposed to give that back. But it doesn't if women are stuck in, I gotta be pretty, gotta be pretty, gotta be pretty, gotta be pretty, gotta look, gotta have my butt, I gotta have this, I gotta shake, gotta do that. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So we having a big lack of like true womanhood in our community because of these things. And so as a woman, the woman who understands this is something that all the women would teach younger women. Put your makeup on. Don't have your Your thing ain't supposed, your bar strap ain't supposed to be showing. Your panties ain't supposed to be showing through your thing. You're supposed to have on the slip underneath. But these are things you could tell the women don't know. You could tell a lot of women don't know these things. Because especially the young women coming out here looking the way they look sometimes. It's just like, anytime I see women who come out, or young ladies who come outside looking crazy, I'm like, they can't be an adult in that house. There surely wasn't a father. Then who let you out the house that way? Who let you out the house in your pajamas? You know what I mean? And so I'm happy anytime I see a woman who put herself together properly and not trying to be scanty and all that stuff. I applaud women like that. We need more of that.
Mark, you're a personal trainer, and you know the importance of image and fitness as it relates to not only health, but also to the mental psyche of a man. In the clinical world, we call certain conditions a somatoform disorder. We call it psychosomatic response, mind over body, body over mind. But when a man have a very vibrant and pretty woman that keeps her body fit for a man, what does it do to the psyche of a man, Mark, when a woman is fit and that man is fit as it relates to not only sexual relationships, but also mental health?
But I think you feel appreciated, right? You know, if you're with someone and they, you know, they take care of themselves because that person is a representation of you, right? Of the person they're with, right? Because you're looking at that person every day. So that person has to, look presentable in a way. But honestly, for me, I've done personal training for years. I always focus on the health aspect of it. You have to take care of yourself. You have to be healthy, because if you don't, then, somebody else has to take care of you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to self-care. You have to exercise and eat healthy. Otherwise, again, you're not going to feel good. And when you don't feel good, you don't share your good, anything good with anybody else. So when if you're not your best self, it affects your partner. So it's important to, to feel good, to look good, and to be your best self.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark, I want to ask you a question, man. You're out here in these YouTube streets, you're dating. What do you see in dating relationships as it relates to women? What do you see and what are you repelled by? What does Mark Monplaisir see in dating, and what is he repelled by?
Honestly, like Kelly, I actually tried those dating websites for about a month or so, and I just quickly ran off. I couldn't do it. I think as men, when you start understanding what your purpose is and you start focusing on that, a woman is the least of your priority, really. You understand that you do need a companion, you do need a woman by your side, but it's not what you chase. You know what I'm saying? So for me at this point, I would absolutely appreciate somebody I could, have a relationship with, have, great conversations with, and be able to, to pretty much bounce ideas off, at the same time. But honestly, I have not met anyone that fits that description, because, I'm huge on having conversations. And if we can't have a conversation, we can't have anything, right? If I feel like, everything is based on emotions and we can't have any logical conversation, we can't be, right? And if I feel like health is not important to you, we can't be. If I feel like, you're not, your own person, where you don't have a purpose that you are clear on and understand what you're supposed to do, we can't be. So, as you get older and understand who you are and what your purpose is, it's extremely difficult to, to find, especially in America, really. I'm sorry to say that, but I was actually talking to a friend of mine today. He lives in Paris, and I was actually, telling him, what, I'm gonna come to Paris, and I'm gonna find a girl in Paris, because it's hard, here, because of the teaching that society and the culture is teaching a lot of women, and they believe it. And because of that, it makes it hard to have a healthy relationship because the priorities are not what they're supposed to be. It's just not healthy. So for me, it's been difficult, and I'm pretty sure it will be difficult because I'm constantly learning, and I aspire to have a healthy relationship, and I will not, do anything but or have anything but a healthy relationship, and I'm committed to that.
Right. Guys, I want you to go back in that time ship. Go back in that time ship. Let's go back to the 90s when y'all were, everybody was young and fine and slim, weren't fat, they have no gray. What do you guys more or less miss about that time period? Because Gen X was a defining moment for many men and women. But what do you miss from that time in your life compared to now as you get to the late summer or early fall of your life? When you think about the 90s, the 90s was good. The 90s actually was good. Actually, I was a good guy. I was in church reading the Bible. Should have been clawing, but I was a good guy. But what do you guys miss about the 90s compared to now? The music was good. The clothes were cool. Men were romance women. Kelly, you're not that old. I mean, you're around my age. I'm older than you guys, but there was a time that guys were romance women. But what do you guys miss about the 90s as it relates to dating and relationships?
I would say really quickly that, with technology, it makes it, more difficult. So back in the day, you have to have a conversation with people. You have to meet them in person, and from there kind of feel them out. Usually you're with other groups of people. So yeah, I know so-and-so, he's a good guy or she's a good gal, maybe you all want to talk. Now, because it's, technology and all these apps, like what Mark was saying, you just kind of swipe right, swipe left. There's no connection or genuine feeling like, okay, I want to get to know this person because I just met them, and then kind of go from there. It's very superficial now, where I don't feel it was like that before.
No doubt. LaQuita, give me your point of view. And also, for gray hair, you can take copper. Copper, sometimes it can be a genetic deficiency. I actually take copper, even though I'm 50. I got that gray swag. But
Thank you. I'll look into that.
Take some copper. Copper is actually, yeah. You don't want to dye your hair because it can lead to feminine issues, bladder cancer, brain cancer, but also it can lead to fibroids. So get you some zinc and get you some copper. But don't get too much zinc. You might make another baby. That zinc will have you rolling, boy. But what do you miss from the 90s, LaQuita, as it relates to dating? I mean, I know you and Corey got married early. But like I said, I think you were saved. You were saved by the bell. But you were definitely saved by the bell. You are actually blessed to have your husband, because a lot of women are wishing they have what you have. But what do you? Yes, ma'am.
It's
Go ahead.
sort of like the same thing that Kelly said, because she was married at the same time. In the 90s, she was married as well. But just relationships in general, friendships, work relationships, all relationships were a lot more genuine because there was a lot more face-to-face interaction. A lot more value was placed on those things. And, people were generally just more authentic, and that's another buzzword. But rather than just saying they were authentic, people were more realistic with you. They would tell the truth, and of course people lie, but they would tell the truth, and you could take people more at face value instead of having all of the alter egos that we have, so that your Instagram person is different from your YouTube person, is different from your in-person person, and you got to keep taking off all these masks and all of these kinds of things and switching them out. So yeah, I definitely say it was a good time. Looking at other people who were, getting married at that time and all of that. Yep, I told Mark where to go. I was watching your show, Coach Clinician, but I got to put Africa in there because, you can't. He can't say he's going to Paris and not go to South America.
Right.
Or Africa.
Right.
Sounds good.
We get them degreased. Shout out to Al Grease and the passport game Deacon Eric Spencer, my man Chris Asu. But we're going to get them degrees from the toxicity, because the fat meat is greasy in modern dating and relationship. But go ahead, LaQuita, what were we saying there, dear?
Yeah, that's it. Just that it was, You know, we had some horrible music if you were, and then we also had some really good music, you know, Boys to Men and the boy bands and Johnny Gill and things like that, Luther Vandross. And then we also had Luke and we had other folks, you know, yeah. So that being said, though, there was just everything, and we were having fun with it. You know, go-go music, and the people were having a good time, even with the influx of drugs. Drugs gave Black people, it gave us some good times too. Not me. I didn't do drugs. Unfortunately, nobody would ever offer me any. I always say that. I'm like, well, dang, y'all didn't. But anyway, yeah. So you know, people were genuine. You know, people were having a good time, and it's just different now. You know, so yeah, those were the good old days, as they say.
Yeah, it was, and I don't think those days are ever coming back. That's why it's so important for women not to more or less subvert the chances of getting a decent man, and more or less let that femininity reign. And then when they do get a man, do everything in their power to keep themselves, one, looking good, take care of that man sexually. Because, you know, like I think somebody said earlier, sex actually bonds couples together. Sex is actually good for your immune system, you know. You have enough sex, it might keep the bug away. Because it's good for your immune system. It's the CVD, it's a CV19 repellent. So, and make sure you take your zinc. But you know, it's very important. You know, it's good for the man. It actually makes a man feel productive when that woman see him as appealing, because men, you know, sex is the way the men express their love for their woman. But when it's taken away from them, it actually robs them. You know, and Mark talked about it earlier, how, you know, Mark is a young guy. He's fit. You know, he's in good shape. And so if you're working out and you're healthy and you're eating good, you're taking vitamins, you're drinking plenty of water, and you're getting your rest, your sex drive is going to be high. But when your wife is denying you what the Bible says to do, benevolence, then that's a problem. And that's why, you know, guys are getting degrees. That's why they got their passports up there traveling abroad. You know, we're gonna get tired of come over to Brazil at some point. But that's why they're getting degrees, because they want to find women that are feminine. Femininity is so powerful. I want you guys to listen to what this lady is saying. This lady, and then Kelly and LaQuita, I want to ask you guys the question. And Ty and Mark, I want you guys to listen and break it down too. The feminism lied to the American woman, real quick.
Career in a male-dominated industry. I run my household, pay all my bills by myself, have my own vehicles, and manage everything on my own. But I also know that God did not design my life to be this way. I was not meant to manage everything on my own. I was not meant to be the nurturer and the disciplinarian of my children. I was not meant to be the provider and also the homemaker. And I'm aware of that. And it's my own decisions that have brought me here. And it's my own acceptance of the lies that I was taught in this society. Teaching men.
All right. Hold tight. All right. So, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, LaQuita? Unmute yourselves, please.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, thank you.
All right. Yes. So based on what you heard that woman say, have American women failed for the lie of feminism? I'm gonna let you guys go. I know, Kelly, you gotta go. Thank you, dear, for coming on. You've been awesome. I love your energy. Your vibe is so powerful. Chris, Kelly is a Cancer like you, Chris. So shout out to the Crab Nation. They ain't got no Leo swag though, but they still good people. But Kelly, did the American Black woman become a pawn for feminism? And if so, were you more or less influenced by that negative dogma?
I think, you know, with us trying to be strong and lead our own household, and we tell people that, it's something where we want credit for it, and we want to be treated in a certain way. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel that we're doing ourselves a disservice. And again, like you said, we're going to be by ourselves. We want credit for all these things that we're doing that we can replace the man with. Like, I can be both man and a woman, but that is not our natural way. And we fight against that, and we ignore and we challenge to say, I'm different. I'm different from what that traditional way should be like. I don't want to be that way, but we're going against the grain, and it makes it more difficult for us, and it makes it harder for us to find someone because, you know, the guy's trying to be the guy, do their thing, and we're also trying to be the guy. So it's naturally going to fail, and we have to realize that before. I want to say it's too late, because as you all are saying, you know, your 20s, it's one thing. You have to realize it before you get too old to find someone, because you're set in your ways. No one wants to be bothered with that.
Right.
So that's my opinion.
Excellent. That's an excellent expose. Kelly, your point of reference as it relates to this, and we're gonna bring it in a couple of minutes. And once again, guys, I'm honored. And so to the guys that are listening, the few that are listening, this channel is growing. If you can't donate, please share this content to at least 20 or 30 people. Help me get this channel to 2,000 subs. I look forward to bringing you guys some more fire content. This is just the beginning. But I need you to help me help you. And also to the ones that can't give, when you're in the links, always hit the notification button at all times. So when the show comes on, you guys will know it's coming on. So hit the notification button, all the notification buttons. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you again, Laquita, for sharing. You're a great woman. I really appreciate that. But I forgot what I was saying.
Laquita's turn.
Right. Laquita, go ahead real quick. Mark got to go too. But real quick.
Yeah, I know we all.
And Mark, I'm gonna let you bring it in. I'm gonna let you bring it in, Mark. And thank you for coming on real quick. But how did we get here, Laquita? And do you see any hope for the modern woman?
Yeah, you know, I definitely say we have to take off those labels that have made us the pawn. You know, like Kelly said, strong, trying to be strong. No other woman is called strong. You know, no other woman was told to lead. And, you know, but that was one thing that we were told once our men were removed. Girl, go ahead, you got to be strong. And we had to say something, you know, to keep it together, because there were a lot of us that were incarcerated or killed or what have you from drugs and guns and things that were handed to us. So that being said, we were put into a position of, well, I got to do what I have to do. And then we were telling each other, and then the media and all these other places, you know, the songs and all of that stuff, just be strong. So now here we are, you know, trying to reclaim. And I say trying because, of course, that's where we are. These conversations, we're trying to reclaim and make sure that we all understand. Let's get grounded. Let's go back to what we're supposed to be doing. Black man, black woman, black child, or man, woman, child, if you decide to go out of your race. But speaking for black people, get with get with another person that knows about you, work with them, and build with them.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Mark Montplaisir, I want you to bring this in because I know you got to go and Ty got to go, and I'm grateful to you guys. But what are you getting from this conversation, Mark, as it relates to how things have really changed with dating and relationships? And I want you to tie it to how it more or less relates to your book as well.
Absolutely. Well, so the name of the book again is Strong Women, Fed Up Men, Defeated Sons, Broken Daughters, and that, you know, the whole conversation kind of pretty much talks about the book. You know, the aspect of the woman being strong and you know, because of the choices that, you know, she had to make, right? And the man being fed up at the fact that, you know, we can't meet a lot of the expectations that have been set for us. And a lot of, you know, the daughters being broken because they're watching, you know, mom doing everything, breaking down every virtue inside the, you know, inside them, and the boys being defeated because again, you know, you're watching your mom doing all this work. Dad is not around, so you have to step up and become a man, and that just breaks you down because it's not your job to do that, right? So that's pretty much, you know, what the book talks about, and I think you know, the way to get back, if anything, to, you know, a place where we can all come together and create healthier relationships is to understand the dynamic that has been created for us and the dynamic of what we actually created ourselves. And you know, in this generation, I'm honestly concerned because we diving a little deeper into individualism, right? We don't have a collective understanding of Black people, of how we all supposed to be collectively. So until we can get to that space and understand, you know what, we are Black people, right? We have the same history. You know what I mean? We all went through it. So we have to understand that and come together and not blame one another for things that we don't know, for things that we're not doing. And you know, help each other heal, help each other grow, and you know, help each other get to a better space where we can actually have you know, conversations like we are having tonight, and you know, create healthier dynamics for our children, and teach them to be you know, to be what we were not, right? To know what we weren't taught. So yeah, so I appreciate, you know, the kosher clinician for doing this, and I appreciate you all for being part of it. I think it's really needed, and we have to keep doing it if we want to change the course of you know, where we're going, where we're headed, because it's not it doesn't look good.
No,
So
it doesn't look good
change
at
it.
all. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be getting any better. But I'm grateful for people like Laquita, Kelly, myself, Ty, and you that still more or less give an array of hope. You know, people always say the Leos are some of the most affable and sunny zodiacs in the world. But Kelly, I want you to help in a few minutes, help bring this thing to full circle. What did you get out of this show? Because the wall is inevitable, and some will die by proxy, some will die alone, and some will die by despair. But Kelly, as we're about to close, what did you get from this poignant discussion? And I know you said it sounded negative when you thought about the wall, but the wall is real. You know, men go through a wall, but women, their key asset is their beauty, youthfulness, fertility, chasteness, and ability to be feminine. And the wall is imminent, but you can preserve the wall if you take the proper steps. But what did you get from this show real quick, Kelly? And thank you for coming on. I want to have you back again, you and Laquita. I want to have a more diverse panel of women, the pros and the cons. But what did you get from the discussion real quick?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you know, my position still stands as far as me continuing to work on myself to be more fit and feminine. And the conversation helped me to hear from the gentlemen of what you all need from women. And I do listen to other channels too. It's important for me to listen to what you all are saying, not come up with my own assumptions, and just grow to be better with that, while still, you know, I'm a single parent, I have a job, like I'm doing all those things. I'm still strong, and I still have to wear a certain be a certain way in my work life, but know that I have to make that adjustment if I'm to be with a quality person. So from our conversation, really continuing on with what I'm trying to do, and just be more open-minded and listening to, you know, the men's perspective. I mean, it's a majority saying the same thing, then it's something to be listened to.
Right. Ty, bring it in, because I know Mark got to go. So Ty, bring it in real quick, and we're going to sign off. So real fast, what did you get from this show? We know that the wall is inevitable, but what are some precursory guidelines that women can follow to have more or less death by proxy?
Well, you know, I think one of the things that our women should start to do is to listen to men. You know, even though there's a lot of men who are leaving the country, they don't want to do that. That's not their first choice. It's not to leave their women. Like, they rather be with the women that they grew up with, the women that they went to school with, the women who understand their background, who, you know, they're women who's close by, who they don't have to travel all over and learn new languages and stuff like that to meet their women. So they prefer their women. But if it's not a good option, if you're not, you know, if you work hard, if you're a Black man and you're in your 40s and you made it to a point where you got some money, it wasn't an easy road for you. You're not going to go in and pick somebody who's going to bring you down, going to stress you out. You're not going, why would you choose that on purpose? Why would you click that check mark? You're going to pick the one that's best for you. And that's what men are starting to do. And what ends up happening is women are getting left behind, and you can't shame men into doing what you want them to do. It doesn't work, because the men just like, I don't care. And then, you know, just keep on moving. So I think the women who don't want to be alone, listen to men, right? Find Find a man who's not trying to get with you or your uncles and ask them straight up what it is. They'll tell you the truth. And then once you start, when that starts happening, start to be around women who are successful with men, right? The married women, the women who are, ask them quite, like, be curious about this. Just walk into it like if you don't know anything. Because chances are, if you're single and you don't know anything, obviously, that's why you're where you are. I know there's some ego that's gonna be hard to take, but trust me, when you understand, once I understood, I was making mistakes in relationships. Man, I took a break for 16 months from women. I was like, man, I'm doing something wrong. I'm still doing wrong things, and I couldn't continue to do that because it would ruin my life. My life would be ruined, and maybe a woman may not think that if I don't have a man, my life's gonna be ruined. But you're gonna be depressed and sad and lonely. Nobody hugging you. You got to go fend for yourself. You got to go shopping by yourself. People joking at you that you alone. You wasting batteries. It's like you can't keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's important for women to understand men, because there are men out there who want to love them. There are men out there who want to love them.
Oh my God.
So
that's a good one.
And that's what I think. And I think that a lot of women have been given the wrong, especially Black women. They felt that this feminist movement was for white women. It was not for Black women. That was for white women. And they use y'all numbers to prop their stuff up. See, the Black women being oppressed too. But as soon as you start acting for Black people stuff, no, let's not talk about that Black people stuff. We got to talk about stuff for women. And when they get their benefits, they don't share with you, and you can't share with your man. They sharing it with their man. You can't share with your man because they don't want your man to be in the house. So Black women, the only people we have is us, is each other. We have to learn how to work with each other. That's the only way we get out this.
Right.
So that's what I got for the show. And yeah.
Right. But thank you, guys. We're about to sign off. But Frederick Douglass said that power never conceded to a struggle. Anything without a struggle, never have and never will. And it's about 31 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock in my DJ voice. And I'm going to dedicate this to Gen X. And, you don't have to die alone if you make some changes. But I want you guys to listen to this vibe. We're about to sign off.
4 in the morning, you got me up all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say